Xavier, can you hear me?
Hi there, Madam Chair. Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome.
Are you the only board member?
Very good.
All right, it's 9:30. Are we ready to begin?
Can we give Elizabeth Kukla, the secretary, a moment to get back in?
All right, fine. Xavier, do we have any council people present? I'm not seeing any.
We do.
Councilman Hart will be up soon. He's being sworn in the Health and Safety Committee.
Understood. Thank you. Did you hear that, Madam Chair?
I did, thank you. So Ms. Holzer, looks like we'll start with Councilman Hart's case. Since he's going to be up in a few minutes or in a moment.
Liz, are you good?
Oh, yes, I'm good. Yes, thank you.
All right, Madam Chair, we're ready to begin with the preamble.
Excellent. Go ahead, Ms. Kukla, with the reading of the preamble.
Good morning. My name is Liz Kukla. I'm the Secretary of the Board of Zoning Appeals, and I'm going to read the preamble for you this morning, this Monday, May 13th. In compliance with notification requirements of the city's open meeting law in section 101.021 of the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting have the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Please note that call-in users can unmute by using *6. Next screen. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube for public view. We have provided a link to the meeting for those who wish to speak on a particular case via our website and email. All requests to speak on a particular matter have been considered. We've also received emails from those who have provided written comments on a particular matter. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Great. Could you call the roll, please?
Sure. Ms. Roca?
Present.
Ms. Holzer?
Present.
Ms. Wilson?
Present.
Ms. Fate?
Present.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum with 4 members. We should state for the record that at this time, we only have 4 members as 1 member has resigned. So if the applicants would like to postpone their case to a future date when they may have 5 members, because at this time with 4 members, you risk a tied vote. And if there is a tied vote, then the variance is essentially denied. So at this time, if any appellants would like to request a postponement, it would probably be approximately 30 days. I know we are working on getting a new person in. So if you would like to request a postponement at this time, please do so.
Do we have anyone in the room that wishes to postpone?
We do not
Do
see
we
any hands. There are no hands raised in the room right now.
Great, thank you, Ms. Kukla. Do we have anyone online that wishes to postpone?
I do
Hearing
not
none,
see-
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Bay.
I was just stating I do not see any hands raised on mine.
Great, thank you so much. All right, has Mr. Councilman Harsh joined us yet?
Not yet, he's still on the way up.
All right, then, since he's not present, and we'll proceed with the first case. Do we have any other postponements or requests for withdrawals, Ms. Kukla?
No, Madam Chair, we do
Okay,
not have
great.
any of those.
All right. Okay, Ms. Holzer, we'll proceed with calendar number 24-049 then, please.
Sounds good. Our first case is calendar number 24-049. This is at 523 East 140th Street. Michael Dolan, owner, proposes to establish use as a party center in a C2 local retail business district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 4. With that, I will hand it over to Ms. Wilson for the oath.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. I will swear in all who are present for this case. Do we have anyone in the room present for this? All right, anyone online present for this matter? You see any hands raised, Xavier?
I do not see any hands raised. I do know that the neighborhood planner was in communication with the applicant for this case. It looks like somebody actually might be trying to speak. Just want to make sure everybody who wants to speak on this case is unmuted. If you are muted, you can hit *6 to unmute. Okay, I'm just double checking because I saw a lot of movement on the video feed. But as I was saying, I know that the neighborhood planner, Ariel Washington, a neighborhood planner for the northeast side, was in communication with the applicant for this case. And from the communication that I received was that they wanted to withdraw, but nothing was received in writing. So that may be why we don't see anybody present for this case.
Okay, well, without any official communication from the appellant, we can't just take that as word. So we will take calendar number 24-049 and put it to the back of the agenda and see if anyone communicates to us in the meantime. All right. So with that then, moving on, Ms. Holter.
Sounds good. Our next case then is calendar number 24-054. This is at 5100 Lorraine Avenue. So, and I apologize if I butcher any names or words. So we have Tavoros Capital LLC owner proposes to establish use as a smoothie bar in a G2 limited retail business district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 3. With that, I will hand it over to Ms. Wilson for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. Anyone in the room present for this matter? All right, we're striking out here.
Yes.
Anyone
I'm
else?
here. Yes, I am Brianna Gordon.
Okay, perfect. I will go ahead and swear you in if you are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your right hand, reply with I do, state your name, spell your name, and give your address.
I do. It's Brianna Gordon, BrianaGordon. My address is 3123 West 44th Street, Cleveland, Ohio, 44109.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in this matter?
I'm here on behalf of the owner of the building.
Okay, you want to go ahead and swear in, please?
Sure. My name is Tiffany Zupka. What else do you need from me?
Can you raise your right hand, reply with I do, state your name, spell your name, and give your address?
I do. Tiffany Zupka, Tiffany Zupka. My address is 26777 Lorraine Avenue, North Olmsted.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in this matter?
Good morning, Nate Lull, Cleveland City Planning, 601 Lakeside Avenue. I do. NATELULL.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in this matter? All right, hearing none, I'll hand it back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Miss Gordon, it sounds like you're going to be the leasee of the property. Is that correct?
Yes, I am.
And what is your relationship to Tavares Capital?
I'm renting the building from them.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
my
right.
lease began January 15th.
Of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. And Ms. Zupka, so I think you said that you are representing the owner. Is that correct?
Correct.
And the owner is in fact Tavares Capital.
Yes.
And the lease with Miss Gordon did begin on 1/15/24?
Yes.
Super. All right. Miss Gordon, you have 3 variances that are before us. So if you would tell us exactly what you want to do, particularly as it relates to the variances you're seeking.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
this is Shannon Leonard. This application, I believe, is they're going to request to withdraw. This parking lot is not. It was originally put in the application as part of the original permit application for the smoothie shop. And I believe that they don't intend to use the parking lot for this particular use. So I talked with the neighborhood planner last week about them being able to withdraw this application. So if you want to just see if that's what they plan on doing and not using this parking lot, then they would not need any of the variances requested. The
Okay.
difference here is that we processed this application prior to the TOD legislation going through.
Yes.
And according to the law department, we had to process the application based on the date. So
Yes.
technically they applied prior to TOD, so they needed parking. Now that TOD is passed, they do not need parking. And so if they're not using this parking lot, then they don't need to make improvements. They would just need to submit a new application to showing that the parking is not included.
Okay, great. Thank you for that input, Ms. Leonard. Ms.
Yes.
Gordon, do you understand that? And Ms. Zupka, do you understand that situation?
Yes,
Yes.
I do.
Okay. So I need for you to ask to have the case withdrawn since you're not seeking any variances.
I would like to have the case withdrawn because I'm not seeking any variances.
Okay. Without objection, board?
Without objection.
Objection.
Great, thank you. Calendar number 24-054 is withdrawn. And thank you for your time and good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Hulser, so far we're going along at a quick clip. Interesting morning for us. So we'll go to 24-055.
And Madam Chair, would you like me to read both cases in since it looks like they have the same owners and lessees?
Right. Ms. Kukla, in the packet, they were both listed together. So are we able to bundle these two?
Yes, yes, please.
Super.
Yeah, the one of them is it is, well, they're all part of the same project, and the parking lot is accessory to the main use.
Okay, super. All right. So there's the answer to your question, Ms. Hulser. So we'll do a little BZA bundle on these two. If you can summarize and read them in.
Sounds good. It looks like both cases have the same variances as well. So our next two cases are calendar numbers 24-055. This is at 8716 Meridian Avenue, and calendar number 24-056. This is at 8720 Meridian Avenue. And for both cases, Roy Jelks, owner, and Chanel Murray, lessee, proposed to establish a type A daycare in a B1 two-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there is one for both cases. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Wilson for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. Is there anyone in the room present for this matter? All right, hearing nothing, is there anyone online present for this matter?
I am.
Okay, very good. I'll go ahead and swear you in. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your right hand, reply with I do, state your name, spell your name, and give your address.
I do. Chanel Murray, CHANELLMURRAY, 8716 Meridian Avenue, Cleveland,
Thank you.
Ohio, 44106.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in this matter? All right, hearing none, back to you, Madam Chair.
Excuse me,
Oh.
I'm sorry. Kim Scott, City Planning.
Oh, yes, please.
601 Lakeside Avenue, room 501. Anyone know the deal's not starting, but anyway, that's me.
Okay. And do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, back to you, Madam Chair.
Okay, so we do not have Mr. Jelks with us. It sounds like, correct?
No, just Chanel Murray.
Okay, and you were the leasing. So, Ms. Murray, do you have you submitted to us a letter from Mr. Jelks stating that you can conduct business on behalf of the property?
Yes.
Okay, super. And Ms. Kukla, you have that on file?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Super, great. Okay, so Ms. Murray, you've got 2 addresses listed with us, and you're seeking variance. So can you tell us what's going on with the childcare that you're proposing?
Okay, so to the members of the Board of Zoning and the community members, I'd like to first thank you for your time and consideration. I want to formally propose the establishment of a home daycare facility within our community and respectfully request your approval and support for this endeavor. As a dedicated educator with a bachelor's degree in middle child education from Wright State University, and over a decade of experience in childcare, I'm confident in my ability to provide a nurturing and enriching environment for children of our community. My passion for childcare is deeply rooted in my personal and professional experiences as a mother to 2 young children. I understand the importance of providing a safe and supportive environment where children can learn, grow, and thrive. Moreover, my family has been an integral part of this community for over 50 years with a longstanding commitment to serving as pillars support, particularly for youth. I'm proud to continue my family's legacy in the community service by offering a home daycare that upholds the values of safety, positivity, and nurturing care. Growing up, this home was a place where everyone knew they could find support and guidance. My grandmother, a beloved member of the community, dedicated herself to coaching for the East 97th Street Bulldogs for many years, shaping the lives of the countless young individuals. By allowing me to operate a daycare facility in our community, you will not only be supporting a small local business, but also contributing to the preservation of the community's heritage and values. I am committed to providing a loving and stimulating environment where children can learn and play, fostering an intellectual, social, and emotional development. In conclusion, I urge you to consider my immense value that the home daycare facility can bring to our community. Your approval of this proposal will not only enable me to pursue my passion for childcare, but also honor the legacy of my family's longstanding commitment to serving the needs of our community's youth. Thank you for your time, and I can further answer any questions that you may have regarding this proposal. I plan to use the vacant lot as a play area in the home, the first level, as a childcare facility.
Before,
And-
excuse me, before we go any further, Madam Chair, can we read the history of the property and legal standard, please?
Yes, thank you so much. Ms.
Thank you,
Kukla, would
Xavier.
you like to read the history of the property for us, please?
Sure. Thank you, Xavier and Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929, and the home on the property was erected in, apologize, was erected in 1891, and that is at 8716 Meridian. Then at 8720 Meridian, a single-family dwelling was originally on the property, erected on the property in 1904. There are no variances on file and nothing of note in the more recent history. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And we'll go to legal standard.
Madam Chair, members of the Board, appellant is requesting a use variance and an area variance from the minimum distance requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship particular to the property, such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you very much. I was just having a coughing here. Sorry. Okay, so thank you for that. And we've had Ms. Murray's beginning statement. I believe you were going to tell us, Ms. Murray, about the property that is adjacent and your proposed use.
Yes, so I would like to use that piece of land for a play area. I'll be putting up a new fence that follows the ODJFS's rules, and then I'll be adding a play area for the children, if approved.
Okay. Sorry, I'm coughing. Okay. Tell us about your hours of operation, your plans for how you're going to have the children picked up and dropped off, those sorts of specifics, number of children, etc.
So the hours of operation will start off as 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. I do eventually want to become 24 hours just because with us being close to the hospital, I think that would generate a lot of business to be open 24 hours, but that'll come in the future. But initially starting off 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m., drop-offs are made in the driveway and then they come through the front door. What was your other question? How many children?
Number of children.
If approved by the state, I would like to have 12 children. That would be the max. And then it would be 2 workers, myself and one other person.
Okay, so if you eventually go to 24 hours, what are your staffing needs going to be then?
There will also be myself and one other person here for that. I haven't completely made a plan for that. That's just something that I think would be good for this area. But I would have to coincide with ODJFS, see what all the rules and regulations are with that, and then make my decision as far as whether I will do that or not.
Okay, so at this particular point in time, you're just seeking hours 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, I'll open it up to the board for other questions or comments. Ms. Holzer, do you have anything?
I do not at this time.
Okay, Ms. Roca?
Yes, Madam Chair, I just, to the appellant, would like to know if you have spoken to your neighbors. Are they aware of your plans? Have they provided any feedback? Have there been any community meetings about this use?
Absolutely. I sent over to my councilwoman, I have 3 letters from people in the community, 2 being from people that live on the street. I have 2 of them in my hand and the other one is on my computer. But I got 2 from people that live on the street and 1 from a teacher that works at Wade Park School, which is in walking distance. I don't know if you guys would like me to read them or. But
Ms.
yes, I have
Ms.
spoken with
Kukla,
the
did we
neighbors.
receive any other correspondence besides what Ms. Murray has?
I do not have any letters in the file, and I also do not have the letters that she is referring to.
Okay, why don't you coordinate with Ms. Murray the correspondence she does have? So we can get that into the record.
You want me to send this to you?
Yes, please. You could send it to the Board of Zoning Appeals email address.
Okay. I will send that over now. I will just forward you the email that I sent to the councilwoman. Could you just tell me the email again so that I don't get it messed up?
It is Board of Zoning Appeals. I think it's Cleveland Board of Zoning Appeals. I apologize. Or you
Okay.
could send it to me, EKUKLA.
EKUKLA.
At clevelandohio.gov. Still have it in Cleveland.
Okay, I have EKUKLA at clevelandohio.gov.
That's correct.
Okay. You should get the email momentarily. Let me know if you have any issues seeing anything.
In the meantime, may I make a comment?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Scott, excellent. I was going to come to you next, so
Thank you.
seems like a good time to chime in.
Sure. I met with Ms. Chanel and we talked about her project. The area has a lot of vacant land around it. So we project eventually that there may be some infill housing developed. But in the meantime, in an area just about a block and a half away, there's a vacant school site at 86th, between 85th and 86th, just south of Meridian, that's going to be developed as a new green space in the community. So city planning does not have any objections for the request being made today and is fully in support of this. And I mentioned the green space because I think that that's an ideal amenity for the community that may be able to be used to enhance the service that Ms. Chanel is providing. So.
Yes, that
Thank you.
was a good point to note, Ms. Scott. Thank you so much. I'm curious to know about the vacant lot that's to the other side of the
So my
Alice?
family has tried to get that vacant lot, but we were told that like I guess we can't own both of the vacant lots.
And it's not that you can't own both of the vacant lots. What we try to do in city planning when we're deliberating about how to divide land, one of the things that we really try to do is to create some consistency with sizes of parcels so that you don't have, you might have 5 homes that are on 40-foot frontage parcels, and then you have one house that has 4 parcels. I mean, three vacant lots attached, and then the one with the structure on it. So that's the conversation that I've had with Ms. Chanel. But it's not something that is out of the question. It's just, this is what we raised. And I know that, like I mentioned at first, because there is a potential for some infill housing development, we also want to, be aware of the city's goals to increase housing opportunities.
Right.
So that's, yes, there is the other vacant lot and it is owned by the city. And yes, she or they have applied for that previously. So,
So that's city land bank to the other side then?
correct.
All right, great.
Mm-hmm.
And Ms. Scott, did you also discuss with Ms. Murray the regulations on fencing for the vacant lot that she intends to convert to playground area?
I don't remember if we discussed it, but it certainly is in the code. And when she submits building permit application, well, actually, I guess she has submitted an application, which is why she's here now. So I have to look that over again. And because the fence height is not something that came up as needing a variance, I'm assuming that the details of the fence are okay.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
you have an established relationship with Miss Murray, it sounds like.
Yes.
So you can coach her through the correct fencing.
Sure. Happy to
Super.
do that.
All right.
Mhm.
And
Let's
then-
see. I think Miss Wilson, I didn't call on you for questions.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. To the appellant, the legal standard in this case requires that you demonstrate an unnecessary hardship to obtain this variance, or if you don't get this variance, that you would experience an unnecessary hardship. Can you speak to that a little bit, please?
Yes, this is how I'm trying to provide for my children. So if I did not get approved, then I would have to go back to the drawing board and figure out what it is that I'm going to do to provide for my kids. This has always been a dream of mine. So when this opportunity became available for me to use my great grandmother's house as a home daycare, I jumped on it. So if I couldn't use it, that would hurt a little bit, but I would have to just go back to the drawing board and figure out another plan. Maybe look into some buildings that are in the Cleveland area that I can finance and purchase or something of the nature. But this is my passion, so this is something that I really want. And if I can't do it here, I'll find somewhere else to do it.
Thank you. That concludes my questions, Madam Chair.
Okay, great. Was there any other comment from anyone?
Madam Chair, this is Liz Kukla.
Yes, ma'am.
I have the letter that the applicant sent over, and I also have a note regarding the fence. The application did not show the fence, the proposed height or the location. And so we would need the applicant to apply for that in a separate application to the Building and Housing Department.
Great, okay. So Ms. Scott, you're aware of that, so you can help her with that perhaps?
Yes.
Great, thanks. Anything else, Ms. Kukla?
I would be happy to read that letter into the record if you would like.
Super, I was gonna ask you if you could do that, since we have it now.
Sure, I have only received one letter. The applicant mentioned three. It's possible.
So I had to send the other two separately. It seemed as though it didn't come with the first one. So if you maybe refresh your email, you should have two more emails from me.
Just as a point of order, Ms. Murray, we typically don't accept those things after the deadline, which was last week. But we're making a consideration to an accommodation to you today.
Thank you,
those.
I appreciate it.
Yes, Madam Chair, I don't see them yet in my email, but I will go ahead and read this one that we have from Brenda Bruce. She's from the Cleveland Metropolitan School District. She's writing to express full support for the proposal to license Step One House of Learning as a daycare facility in the community. She has extensive experience working with Cleveland Municipal School District for 18 years, and with her personal acquaintance with the owner of the Step One House of Learning for over 20 years. She is confident in the commitment to excellence and the safety that this daycare will uphold. As the Verizon technology coach at Wade Park School, which is conveniently located within walking distance from the proposed daycare facility, I have firsthand knowledge of the needs of the families in the community One pressing concern is the lack of before or after care options for children starting next school year. Many working parents rely on such services to ensure the well-being and supervision of their children. The establishment of step one housing of learning as a licensed daycare would not only fill this gap in child care services, but also provide a nurturing environment where children can thrive academically and socially. This initiative aligns perfectly with the community's values of supporting families. Furthermore, given her longstanding relationship with the owner of Step One House of Learning, she can attest to their dedication to providing high quality care, education to children. Their reputation for integrity and professionalism precedes them. In conclusion, she urges the board and to approve the licensing of Step One House of Learning. And again, that's signed Brenda Bruce.
Super, thank you so much. Okay, any other comments? All right, board, who would like to take the motion on this? Ms.
Madam Chair.
Wilson? Oh, go ahead.
Based on the testimony that we have heard in this matter, calendar number 24-055, as well as calendar number 24-056, I would move that we approve both calendar numbers.
Great. Could I have a second, please?
Madam Chair, Board Member Roca, I second.
Thank you for the second, Ms. Roca. Ms. Kukla, if you'll call the vote.
Thank you. Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Ms. Roca?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Bates?
Yes.
Calendar numbers 24-055 and 24-056 are granted. They will be ratified next Monday. We will send the appellant a letter. To the appellant, please feel free to contact our office next Wednesday for further instruction. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Good luck to you, Ms. Murray. I think you're well credentialed for this. So, and you've got a nice house and a good parcel of land, and Ms. Scott is willing to help you along. So
Thank you.
I wish you much success.
Thank you so much.
All right, moving along, calendar number 24-057.
All right, our next case is calendar number 24-057. This is at 820 College Avenue. Sandy Banks LLC owner proposes to enclose the patio of an existing restaurant located in a C1 General Retail Business District. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there is one. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Wilson for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. Is there anyone in the room wishing to speak in this matter? Okay, why don't we come up to the table? And while he does that, is there anyone online wishing to speak in this matter?
Good morning. Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for identifying yourself. I'll go ahead and swear you in. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Raise your right hand, reply with I do, state your name, spell your name, and give your address.
I do. Paul Jones, Pauljons, 39075 Johnny Cake Ridge Road, Willoughby, Ohio, 44094.
Okay, thank you. You may feel free to have a seat. Ms. Grigonis, I'll go ahead and swear you in.
Donna Grigonis, our office is 2406 Professor Avenue in Cleveland, Ohio. Thank you.
And do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Perfect, thank you.
Donna Grigonis, Grigonis is my last name. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else online wishing to speak in this matter? All right, hearing nothing, I'll hand it back to you, Madam Chair.
All right, great, thank you. All right, we'll go to history of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. In our Records Administration Office, we found in 1904, a permit was issued to erect a store, dwelling, and hall building. There are 2 variances on file in calendar 10-227, and that was in 2010. A variance was granted to change use to bar with live entertainment and outdoor patio. with the condition that the appellant will maintain compliance in participation with neighborhood-wide valet program. And then in calendar 23-118, this board granted a variance to erect an addition. At the time, the appellant stated there would be no additional seating, and the appellant stated that they own parking across the street where 12 parking spaces will be provided. And Madam Chair, I think that's the most pertinent information for this address at this time.
Yes, it is. Thank you. All right, we'll go to legal standard, please.
Madam Chair, members of the Board, appellant is requesting an area variance from the transition strip requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Super, thank you. Mr. Jones, what's your relationship to the project?
I am the owner of the business, one of the owners.
Okay. All right, so you've got that variance from 2023 where you had permission to erect the addition. So bring us up to speed. What's going on now?
We applied for the permit and it was kicked back for the setback on the property line there. When I discussed the project with Economic Development Committee and the Neighborhood Block Club, it was seen as a positive thing for the neighborhood. And this setback was, I originally thought was going to be part of the variance process, but it wasn't. The only thing that went through was the parking issue, which was approved, or the variance was approved for that. So once it went to building and housing, this kickback is I needed an additional variance.
When you're saying you're really talking about the 10-foot transition strip issue, right?
Correct.
It's in the variance. It's on the record. All right. Okay. And so that's really what's at issue here, right? And you mentioned you met with the Block Club and the neighborhood development.
Yes, correct. Nothing has changed from the original plan that I brought forth with the last variance.
Okay. No other changes
No other changes.
since that 2023 variance.
Correct.
Okay, super. All right. Anything else, Mr. Jones?
No, I went in front of the Block Club again. They voted to approve the variance we're seeking, and spoke with the neighbors adjacent to the property, and they had no objections as well at that same meeting.
Okay, great. All right, Ms. Grigonis, welcome. Why don't you tell us, give us your perspective?
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. Thank you for working with the Tremont West Development Corporation and other CDCs to help streamline this process a little bit. So we've been working with Mr. Jones for a couple of years. You know, it's a beloved neighborhood business. He's not growing the, everything he's doing is, he's already taking over that footprint as it is. These are just improvements and investments in the neighborhood and the business that he owns. And the entire neighborhood seemed to be pretty excited about this. And we actually talked about this variance at both meetings, the Economic Development Committee and the Block Club meetings that he attended. And we weren't aware that this wasn't a variance that he wasn't getting earlier in the process. But so this was discussed, and then it was discussed again recently. And everyone is pretty unanimously in support. I haven't heard, I believe, any people that are not in support of this. And we appreciate the care that Mr. Jones takes with his business, and would like to continue to support other business owners just like him. So thanks, Mr. Jones and Madam Chair, for listening and being a part of the process. We appreciate it. And Paul has been very active in the community groups as well. So we appreciate that.
Thank you, Ms. Gronis.
Full
Um,
support from here.
Super, thanks. Mr. Jones, how long have you been in business there now?
The business has been there since 1996.
And have you owned it the entire time?
No, I have not. I was brought in as a partner in 2008.
Okay. All right. So it's well established in the neighborhood, I know.
Yes.
Yes. Ms. Kukula, do we have any correspondence regarding this?
No, we do not.
Okay. Board, let's start with you, Ms. Wilson. What questions do you have?
I think my question has been answered, but I would love to hear sort of a reiteration of what difficulty would you face if this variance is not granted?
This entryway or covered area is where all our deliveries come in. Our employees go through, and to keep that clean and dry and just for the safety of everybody going up and down the stairs and all the product that's brought in is pretty important to our business.
Okay, understood. That answers my question, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Ms. Holster, anything?
No, I appreciate the reiteration of the hardship, but I don't have any additional questions at this time.
Super, thank you. Ms. Roca, saved you for the last.
No, ma'am, I do not have any questions.
Nothing, huh? All right, super. City planning.
Yep. Hello, this is Xavier Bay, representing city planning for this case. We don't have any issues with approving the variances that are requested today. As you heard, they're not expanding the footprint of their service on this lot. It's just to really upgrade and improve the currently existing conditions on the property. So we don't have any issues with these variances.
Super, thank you. Ms. Holster, would you like to take the motion on this one?
Sure. Having heard testimony from the owner and the appellant and the CDC, I move approval of, and city planning, I should say, I move approval of calendar number 24-057.
Great. Could I have a second, please?
Madam Chair, Board Member Wilson, I would second the motion.
All right, Ms. Wilson with the second. Ms. Kukla, if you'll call the vote.
Ms. Roca,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
Ms. Fave.
Yes.
Calendar number 24-057 is granted. It'll be ratified next Monday. We will send you a letter, but also feel free to contact our office on Wednesday next week for further instruction.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Thank you, Ms. Grigonis.
Thank you.
All right, moving along to calendar number 24-058.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. We
Yep,
actually
ma'am.
had Councilman Chris Harsh has entered, and so we can jump to his case.
Super. All right, change of plans, Ms. Holzer. We'll go to 24-060.
Sounds good. Our next case is calendar number 24-060. This is at 6005 Parkridge Avenue. Daniel Foster, owner, proposes to erect a two-story single-family residence with detached garage in an A1 one-family residential district. The owner appeals to relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are two. With that, I'll hand it over to Ms. Wilson for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. I will swear in everyone who's present for this case. If you are
Everybody who's
present,
here, come on up.
move to the table.
You got a seat at the table.
If
I
you
would say come
don't
up
see a
and
chair,
explain
you
this.
can feel free to roll.
Speak, or if you're
a
just here for
chair.
moral support, you can stay back here, but if you wanna say your piece, come on up.
And I think we'll, Ms. Wilson, if you want to explain to the folks while we're taking this case next.
You kind of cut out. You said explain.
If you just want to mention to the folks why we move this case forward.
Oh, yes, absolutely. All right. We have everyone who wishes to speak here at the table. All right, and just so that others are clear about why we're taking this case forward, we generally give deference to our council people who attend the meeting. And when they present themselves, we tend to take their cases first, and then we'll move to the other cases. So we appreciate your patience. So I'm going to swear in everyone.
And I was not late. Health and Human Services meets at 9:30 and I'm on a committee and I have to get sworn in and we had to do legislation. So I apologize. I was double booked this morning, so I got here as soon as I could after voting and doing the.
Actually, I believe this case was next on the agenda.
All right. I was right on time.
Very good.
You're
All right.
just fine.
Did I hear someone online who was chiming in or no?
This is Dan Foster. I'm the owner of the property.
Oh, very good. Okay,
I'm-
why don't I swear you in first? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your right hand, reply with I do, state your name, spell your name, and give your address.
Sure, I do. Dan Foster, DanFoster, and I currently live at 3556 Beverly Hills Drive, Rocky River, Ohio.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else online wishing to speak in this matter?
Yes, Connor Gale. I'm with the Old Brooklyn CDC.
Okay, and if you could spell your name and swear in.
Connor Gale, CONNORGAIL. I do, and I currently reside at 2247 Rexwood Road, Cleveland Heights, 44118.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Connor. Is there anyone else online wishing to speak in this matter? All right, let's now move to everyone in the room. And if I could start with you, please, Councilman.
I do. Chris Harsh, KRISHARSH, 601 Lakeside, Cleveland, Ohio.
Perfect, thank you. I'll move to you next.
James Gallagher, JamesGallagher. I do.
Thank you, and state your address, please.
5826 Brookside Drive.
Okay, very good. I'll move to you next, please.
I do. Janet Werwas, WYRWAS, and I'm also here to represent my husband, Michael Heriak, HERYAK, and we reside at 5832 Brookside Drive.
Okay, very good, thank you. I'll go to you next.
Good morning, I do. My name is Jill Kuhn, KUHN, Jill, JILL.
Thank you.
Oh, 6020 Park Ridge Avenue.
Okay, very good, thank you.
I do. Marie Vivolo, MARIE, V as in Victor, RVOLO, 6020 Park Ridge Avenue, Cleveland 44144.
Okay, thank you.
I do. Ursula Ruras, URSULA, WYRWAS, 5829 Brookside Drive, Cleveland, Ohio, 44144.
Thank you. Move to you next.
I do. Ernest Davdovich, DAVTOVICH, 5822 Brookside Drive, Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay, thank you. Move to you next.
I do. John Kedju, KAOHNKEDZUCH. I live at 6011 Park Ridge Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio, 44144.
Okay.
I do. Richard Gideon, RICHARDGEDEON, 5912 Parker Drive.
Okay. Have I sworn in everyone who wishes to speak in this matter? Okay, very good. I'll hand it back to you, Madam Chair.
Ms. Wilson, if I could get the spelling of the gentleman right before Mr. Gideon.
That would have been John.
That's KEDZUCH.
Thank you so much, sir. All right, is that everyone?
That appears to be everyone.
Super. We'll go to history of the property then, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. We didn't find any records in our Records Administration Office. We did find that there is one variance on file in calendar number 01-75 in May of 2001. This board granted a variance to erect a single-family dwelling on the property contrary to the code sections which state that a 20-foot front yard setback is required and 30 feet were proposed at that time. And there were no conditions placed on that variance. And I believe that's all that we have that's relevant. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So the code was 20 feet and the dwelling was set back 30?
That's correct, yes. And that is for the front yard, yes.
Yeah. Which we have no purview over anyway, but okay, 30 feet setback. Great, super. All right, let's go to legal standard, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting area variances from the minimum required interior side yard and minimum distance requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by their land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Super, thank you. Who's going to be the spokesperson for this case?
I will be.
That's Mr. Foster?
Correct.
All right.
So a little bit of background on the property and just kind of how we came about with this. I grew up across the street at 5904 Park Ridge Avenue. I was born and raised there for first decade plus of my life, and we bounced around to a few of the surrounding suburbs. But my family originally my father tried to buy this property years and years and years ago. Never really went through. And then by happenstance, I was looking to move back into the Cleveland area. I currently, like I said, live in Rocky River. And Old Broken, it was always kind of nostalgic for me to move back into the area. And when I started doing research and came across the land bank and the lots that it had for sale, I was able to find this one. And obviously being somewhat Cinderella-esque to move back into the neighborhood I grew up in. So then I applied for it, got it, with the understanding that I would likely have to go through a process like this because of some of the zoning code that is different than how the neighborhood was originally built. In a lot of the houses are 1920s to 1930s housing stock, built right around the war. But yeah, so applied. I'm looking to build a single family residence with the detached garage. The kind of architecture of it, I'm trying as best as humanly possible to make it look like it has always been a part of the neighborhood. 1920s style colonial is kind of what I'm going for with this. And because of the site, if you go to the kind of the top down view of the GIS map that we have, I think it might be one of the attachments we have there. I think I sent it. It might be with the last attachment.
Sorry, I don't, this is Xavier Bay, Madam Chair, I don't have that aerial view they have, but I do have this aerial that I snipped.
That's pretty similar. You can kind of see it from this one, and then my site plan also kind of shows it as well. But the lot is, compared to the rest of the neighborhood that generally has a 40 to 50 frontage by usually about 120 or 130 depth. If you can see, Brookside to Park Ridge kind of has a rounded corner to it, where I have essentially 4 lots abutting into what would have been a normal property size. And so I essentially go from a wider frontage to a very narrow rear yard. And then I have a full about 20 feet that's completely cut off compared to neighboring properties. So in the sense of the variances that I'm requesting, it is to allow a viable house and garage to be built on the lot that matches the neighborhood context. And, I would argue in the historical context of all the rest of the houses is still in keeping with traditional setbacks from main houses, from properties, and from adjacent buildings. We tried our best with the architect as well as myself to kind of make sure that the house is both, large enough that it's a viable house, and that we can secure financing for it through my bank, but also that it fits in with the neighborhood, that I wouldn't have some 16-foot wide house compared to the normal kind of capes and colonials that are in the area.
And I am looking at your site plan view right now. What is the dimension of the width of the house itself?
So the dimension of the house is this essentially the finished footprint will be just about 27.5 by 31.5.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let's see. So you're here after side yard and the detached garage. All right. Super. Anything else to add, Mr. Foster, at this point?
Yeah, I'm about to say the only additional thing is that with the specifically with the garage, it will be fire rated on the wall that is closest to the adjacent property, to keeping with fire code. So that will be both will be finished with gypsum board, which will be fire rated for at least an hour, and then it'll also have fire retardant insulation in there as well.
So by that statement, are you meaning that you're meeting the architectural fire code standard, or you are choosing to exceed the architectural fire rated standard?
That I believe on page of my plans, it would be on that's A201. I believe he has it spec'd into the plan there. I forget the exact code that it goes by, but he does have it spec'd somewhere on my on my plans.
Okay. Right. Okay, super. Anything else at this point?
I believe that is all. I'll be happy to answer any questions from anyone in the room.
Okay.
Or
We're
online.
Well, we're going to get to everyone. Councilman, I assume, as usual, you wish to go last, or is that not the case?
Yeah, thank you for asking. I would like to pose two questions for the benefit. We have a large room here with a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'd like to pose two questions for the benefit of the room, so that we all know what we're talking about in terms of the two variances that are being requested.
Super, go ahead.
The first variance, interior side yard 10 feet, and the appellant is proposing 6. I believe, and could the board please correct me if I'm wrong, that is the distance between the house and the properties to the east. The corner, the southeast corner of the proposed house would be 6 feet from the property line of the parcel to the immediate east. That is where section, the first variance is requested. And then the second one relates the distance of the garage from the house to the west. So code says 15 feet, but the garage is 6 feet from the house to the west. I just want to clarify for everyone what these two variances are requesting. Am I stating those correctly to the board?
I believe that you are. Mr. Bay, for the benefit, can you make sure that the site plan's up, and can you just verify the questions for Councilman?
Yes, I even would defer to Shannon Leonard to specifically speak to that. But yes, from my understanding, that is true. The 6 feet listed on the plan here, where you see this bottom corner of the house to the property line is less than 10 feet. And then to the bottom left, this image shown on the screen, you see the garage proposed being less than 15 feet from the adjacent structure.
And with that, I'll go last.
Thank you.
Super. Ms. Leonard, did you have anything else you wanted to add to Mr. Bay's comment?
What was the specific question?
Looking at the setbacks, just clarifying the distance from the house to the property line to the east and the garage distance to the west, pertaining to the two variances. We just want to make sure that that's clear for everyone.
Oh, I have nothing else to add.
Okay, great. I think we're good on that. Super. All right. Mr. Gale, I'm going to hold you for the end of comments as well, and we'll begin with Mr. Gallagher.
All right, I'm here to stand in opposition of the variance. me and my wife just don't think it's fair to have a garage so close to a house when it should be 10 or 15 feet away. That's,
And I'm sorry again, where are you in relation to this parcel?
5826 Brookside Drive, so, my garage is in the bottom right hand of that, drawing,
Okay, all right, so,
right there, yeah, where the mouse is.
okay, super. Great, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher. All right, is it Werwas, Janet?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
If you'd like
Um,
to go next?
Yes, I didn't know how I was supposed to proceed, but I do have some letters from people that could not be here, and also a listing of people that signed an objection that couldn't be here. So I'd like to submit that.
All right, if you'll give those to Ms. Kukla, please.
Okay. And also thank you, good morning, and thank you for having this opportunity. I too am in opposition, and I'm a property owner of 5832 Brookside Drive, along with my husband. The home that we own belonged to his grandparents that built the first home in the area. So we've been in the old Brooklyn neighborhood for a very long time, since childhood, and have made our home with our children in the neighborhood. And we object to this. Originally, this property belonged to the gentleman down at the end, John. It was sold in February of 1998 for $17,000. And that owner then turned around and tried to sell it to the neighborhood at $30,000, and they had it up publicly. And no one wanted to purchase the property for that price. So that owner went and decided he was going to build a house, and told everyone that, and asked for variances at that time as well. And a number of neighbors, some of them have passed now, objected at that time too. And so that did not go forward. Now we're here again with the same situation, okay? And all of us property owners, we've had to look at this for a long time. No one approached us from the side lot program that I understand the city of Cleveland has. No one approached us and asked any of us if we would like to purchase it, split it up and purchase it. And that probably would have been the kind and community-minded thing to do. We all have lived here a long time, have invested our hearts and hard work into our properties. And to have had something like this occur again just seems not in the best interest of the community, nor what the city of Cleveland projects as being neighborly and kind. And that I have a great issue with that. The properties that are along are going to get pushed and crunched. It's this is not a pleasing situation for us. Okay, my property is the back of that fence. I'm next to James, his garage. My property is where the proposed garage is. And I have very little property. I accept that. But to have a garage there, now my neighbor John's garage, James's garage, we are just going to be boxed in. And what is that going to do to my property value? Who's going to want to buy a house that is boxed in by garages? At the very least, that this property should have been split up amongst all of us, or should go back to John. He should have had the opportunity to purchase that. That is where it was originally. It belonged originally to the 6011 Park Ridge. My husband cannot be here. He is under the care of hospice. He is a longtime resident of Old Brooklyn. Like I said, our families lived here. We grew up in this neighborhood. We've stayed here. We were very passionate about Old Brooklyn. We love Old Brooklyn, but this doesn't seem like a very neighborly and community-minded thing to do, especially in light of the fact that none of us were told that this property was up for sale and given that kind of consideration.
Ma'am, I just wanted to clarify your location in relation to the property. Is your house I'm looking at the Cuyahoga County GIS right now. Is your house the one with the garage directly behind this parcel?
It's not up on the screen. So that is my property, yes. And I have a fence that runs where the lot becomes narrower. That's
Right.
Yes, thank you. That's correct.
Okay, so you're behind.
Right. So
Okay.
these variances would greatly affect me.
Okay, thank you very much. All right.
You're
Next we'll
welcome.
hear from Ms. Kuhn.
Yes, good morning. Hello. I am at 6020 Park Ridge, which is across the street by about 2-3 houses there. And I oppose of this. It's just too small. It's a very small green space that we have. And there's quite a few houses in the neighborhood for sale right now, which are already there. I just enjoy that little tiny space there. It has just a few parking spots for other people that are having things going on. And I don't like our street grade right now. We are being flooded in our apron. I have pictures. I've sent them to Mr. Harsh quite a few times. And the street grade has been surveyed quite a few times. We've had flooding on our side and there's no curbs. And I don't see this happening. I just don't really see this. I do want our street grade to be observed again, because everything flows onto our side of the street and our sidewalks, our tree lawns, our basements.
Okay. Ms. Kuhn, just to loop back to what you said at the beginning, it sounded like you said that people are using the lot for parking when they have.
Oh, no, I meant
events?
just in front, like just the street.
Oh, street parking in front.
Yeah, that's all.
All right. All right, let's go to Miss is it
Vivolo.
Verbaloo? I'm sorry, Maureen.
Vivolo.
Vivolo. Thank you,
Yeah.
sorry. So
Yes,
sorry.
oh, no, that's fine. Yes, I'm in opposition as well. Pretty much, to reiterate, what Jill has stated, our street is pretty much a dead end street. It runs into Brookside Drive, which dead ends at the Metro Park. And then on the west side, it pretty much dead ends to West 63rd, which then turns into a cul-de-sac. So, and there's signs on both ends. When we first moved there, my sister was an hour late for a function because it says dead end, no outlet. It's the roads say no outlet. So she wasn't obeying them and driving around until someone said, oh, ignore that, just go. That is a street. And as Jill stated, there's no curbs. We have the flooding on the north side of the street, and everyone is a 2-car family. And people don't like to park in their driveway and have to move their cars. So ultimately, someone's car is always on the street. And currently, as Jill pointed out, there's no driveway at that lot. And so people use that for parking. And now you're gonna put in a driveway, which is gonna eliminate even further parking. And it's just a small little dead end street. And there are houses currently for sale, just right on the corner of 63rd and the very next street. There's a colonial, just like he wants to build right there. And the houses around here are a lot of brick Tudors and older homes. And it's just a quiet, it used to be quiet. Little community with no curbs and bad infrastructure with sewers,
Yeah.
very bad. A couple doors down, they've had, constantly plumbers coming in.
All right, I'm hearing someone talk in the background and you need to mute yourself while we have a speaker.
That's pretty much it. I just don't see the purpose of building a home, and a new structure is going to be more expensive than an old structure. And is that going to then again raise our property taxes? Because people are selling, a few years ago with that crazy where everybody was selling their houses for more than what they were worth, our property taxes went up
It's
because
crazy.
a lady on our street sold her house for $260-something thousand. They
All right,
vary
one
all
person
over.
at a time, please.
And just what is that going to do to our property taxes?
Okay, great. Thank you, ma'am. All right, we'll go to Ursula next.
I'm Ursula Wirwas, Wirwas. I live on 5829 Brookside Drive. I'm more here for support for the people on Park Ridge. I think the lot is too small and footage is supposed to take away from their family property. I think it's wrong. I do not like the idea that the people are being boxed in by this. I totally disagree with this being built. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. All right, we'll go to Ernest next.
Hi, Ernest Daftovich, and I'm at 5822 Brookside Drive. My land is, my property is bound to the west. The back of my lot is bound to the west of this property. It's completely, this lot is completely undeveloped right now. So that means that there's no sewer, there's no water tap in, there's no gas line. And so, that's all things that the proposal is gonna have to contend with if they were granted a variance. A little bit about the neighborhood. The Ridge Manor subdivision is one of Cleveland's oldest planned subdivisions on the west side of the city. The homes on Brookside Drive and Park Ridge are generally well maintained, making the neighborhood one of the city's more desirable areas to live. Park Ridge Avenue merges into Brookside Drive near the entrance to the Cleveland Metro Parks Brookside Reservation. People from all over the city of Cleveland and surrounding communities enjoy the use of the walking trails, ball fields, and the Cleveland Metro Parks Zoo. The valuations of the properties in the neighborhood generally are above similar homes in the city because of the location. Most of the homes are fairly well maintained. However, as with most of Cleveland's neighborhoods, the infrastructure is old and seems to be in constant need of repair. In particular, water main issues seem to pop up every year, sometimes making emergency services difficult. That said, the area is generally peaceful and a good place to raise a family. My objections, the proposed setbacks are inconsistent with the rest of the area and are unreasonably close to existing property lines, which most likely will have negative impacts on the property values, not only for the owners that border the parcel, but also the property owners living across from the project and other nearby residents. Water issues already exist with many homes in the area. The city has planted large trees on front lawns in the area. Massive roots from these trees are causing storm sewers to back up, which in turn results in many homeowners experiencing water issues in their basements. Adding another dwelling in such close proximity to the other homes can only exacerbate this issue. The effect of water runoff from the proposed constructions are unknown. However, drainage is poor in the area now. This results in standing water in many backyards for much of the spring and early summer. No study has been conducted to determine the effect of the project will have, which more than likely will only worsen the situation. Given that prior zoning variances were denied, and that was to my understanding, based on dimensional issues, it's unclear how the property can support one building, let alone two. The garage variance represents a 60% variance from the section 353.5, and the dwelling a 40% variance from section 357.09. The proximity between the proposed structures presents obvious safety issues with respect to fire, natural gas explosions, or other natural disasters, especially for the resident in the adjoining home at 6011 Park Ridge. Excavation during construction may be problematic. With only a 6-foot offset between property lines, will the builder guarantee no structural damage to the adjacent homes during construction? If the damage occurs, will the builder guarantee indemnification, and who will arbitrate any issues that may arise? Residents are entitled to peace and enjoyment of their homes. Whoever resides at 6011 Park Ridge now or in the future will forever be subject to a view of a garage 6 feet from their window. If the variance is granted, the homeowners of both properties will be subject to noise from the other, which ultimately will infringe on both property owners' right to peacefully enjoy their properties as intended. The proposal omits the placement of a central air conditioning unit. Will another appeal for variance be necessary? Street parking of vehicles is already stressed in the area. Some residents must park their cars out of sight of their homes. As we all have been frustrated by parking issues at one time or another, this can be a cause of tension between neighbors because many of the homes have garages that only accommodate one vehicle. The parking on Park Ridge is extremely difficult now. Adding another residence with limited frontage is only going to make this situation worse. In summary, I believe that in the best interest of the community, the board should not grant the variance due to adverse effect on property valuations, environmental issues, not considered or known, quality of life issues, and safety concerns for the residents of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. And I'm sorry, did someone say something?
Madam Chair, it looks like, from my screen, it looks like a Connor Gale from OBC, Old Brooklyn CDC was trying to speak.
Okay, I have 2 more residents, and then I was going to go to Mr. Gale, unless he has an issue with staying online.
No, I'm okay waiting.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Gale. All right. I think what I'd like to do, John, I believe you were the previous owner. Is that correct?
Yes.
All
No,
right.
I own the property at 6011.
All right. If you want to go ahead and make your statement, sir.
Yes, I see what living close to somebody does. I have people encroaching on my property already. And I don't need to have this on both sides. I'm handicapped. I have a hard time getting around. And you putting something 6 feet from my property is not gonna help me at all. It's just gonna make everything harder for me. I'm going blind. I have one leg. I just don't see this happening.
And so, sir, are you directly to the
West,
You're directly to the west. Okay.
yes.
All right. Okay, super. All right, so we'll go to Mr. Gideon.
Right, a lot of great things have been said already, yeah, this is an extremely small piece of property. And like every picture we've seen had John's house in it, you know, so you're not getting the property that's going to be developed. Plus, even from this picture that's currently up here, which is like a schematic, it appears that the house is gonna be in front of John's house, kind of obstructing his porch view there as well. So I just, you know, this coupled with, adding more, I talked to the sewer company, they said we don't have enough sewer drains in our streets. I can't even see how you would be able to park on this property. It's only like 60 feet wide by what, 120 feet maybe? So you'd be essentially butting up almost to John's property. When we see the overhead view of the satellite picture that's that's squared off, it's actually part of John's property in that. So I am surprised that someone bought this property. There's plenty of other properties in Old Brooklyn, like right around the corner, you know. I'm surprised you can't buy the property that's east of that as well. It's actually on Brookside, but the corner property, I think now is a rental. So I think they would even be willing to sell at the right price.
Okay, does that conclude your statement, sir?
I think so.
Okay, super. All right. Mr. Gale, we'll go to you next.
Good morning, everyone. The Old Brooklyn Community Development is in support of Dan. I've had the pleasure of working with him for the last year. Dan represents one of the, you know, newer generation, you know, that Cleveland is actually, you know, especially Old Brooklyn is trying to attract. He's got the same civic pride that all of the members in the room there have. He's born in the neighborhood. You know, his family owns the construction company that they're going to be doing the build. So he really represents, you know, a new class of resident that we're trying to attract. And at that same time, you know, Old Brooklyn just needs new housing. We've got several new construction projects, not just, you know, through the CDC, but, you know, other builders that are working on throughout the neighborhood. This is the only lot in Brookside, the neighborhood that Dan grew up in. So we are in support. I believe that's all I have.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
This is Liz Kukla. I do have the letters here that were submitted, if you'd like me to make a note in the record.
Excellent. That's great. Thanks for processing those. If you'd go ahead.
So this is the first thing that we have received is the petition that states we the neighbors of Park Ridge Avenue and Brookside Drive hereby object to the two proposed variances for 6005 Park Ridge Avenue. As neighboring property owners, the proposed variances will negatively impact our properties in the context of the neighborhood. There were 8 signatures on this. I believe that there are 4 neighbors here at this time, and then we see that there are 4 additional names that I'm not recognizing. Ted Zola, Sharon Augustine, Sandra M. Drodos, and Jason Lake. And then we received 4 letters as well. 3 of those letters were written by people who are present today. 1 letter was written by Sharon Augustine, stating that she would like to object to the construction of a 2-story house with a detached garage on a small, irregular shaped lot. It would have been nice to see what the structure would look like fitted on the lot. It would also have been nice to let the surrounding homeowners know that the lot was available and could possibly have been subdivided. And again, this is from Sharon Augustine at 6004 Park Ridge Avenue. Thank you.
And those were the ones that were just submitted today, correct?
Yes, yes.
Past deadline.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Do you take questions?
Councilman,
That
do
would
you
be a
wish to
question
make
for
a
the
statement
chairperson.
at this point, or should I move to questions?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that,
Did you
Madam
want to
Chair?
make your statement at this point, or would you like me to move to questions?
Yeah, I'd like to make a statement, Madam Chair, if I could, before questions.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, so Madam Chair, thank you. A lot of issues have been brought up regarding this request today. I do want to just sort of like iron out some of the wrinkles and just answer a couple of questions that have been brought forth, if I may, while everybody's here. Regarding the sewer issue, it's not on the table today. We're not here to talk about sewers, but one of your neighbors, the civil engineer, brought up the issue to me, found that the sewer line is too small. I talked to the sewer department and they will be replacing the entire sewer line along Park Ridge, which is a fairly substantial infrastructure project that will happen in a couple of years because the sewer is too narrow and they're going to widen it, which hopefully will alleviate some of those issues. It's not the issue for today, but since we're all here and you're all dealing with the same problem, I thought I'd mention it. Parking issues typically aren't something that we look at a whole lot because everybody has driveways, and the taxes, some people are concerned they'll go up and some people are concerned they'll go down. Taxes typically are more a reflection of your property and recent sales values in the neighborhood. So if your property is well maintained, your taxes look good. If property values go down in terms of sales, that has more to do with taxes. But for the history, for the benefit of everybody here, while we're going through this, in '98, the property was sold by an Everett, a Miss Dorothy, to a Zarlinga for $17,000, who flipped it in 2003 to a Mr. Diaz for $25,000, who then the property languished. The property went through sheriff's sale in 2017, where it was then put back into the city land bank. So all the sales and everything that you are referencing historically ended up with the city taking property of the ownership of the property back in 2017. So for the last 7 years, it sat in the city land bank until transferring, I think it was in February of this year, to Mr. Foster. Initially, the question before the city was back last year about whether or not the city should sell the land bank property. Mr. Foster put in an application to the city land bank. That was a yes or no question about should the property be sold as vacant, and then people can do what's legally permissible. But the question wasn't about variances or construction. The question was, should the city sell the property? At that time, I did go around and door knock the community. I talked to everybody I could. I remember speaking with you. You walked me into your backyard to show me your situation. You were opposed to it then.
Correct.
You've been consistently opposed to this since, and that was going to be my, I was going to represent that if you weren't here today, that you have been consistently opposed to this. At that time, I spoke to the neighbor on the very corner of Park Ridge and the other street who was okay with it.
That property owner could not, she was deceased.
Okay.
So you did not.
Okay, the person who answered the door.
Right.
Fair enough.
Tenants.
Fair enough.
They have no right to make an opinion.
Okay, I spoke to them. That's all. Other people were okay with it at the time as just the transfer. The transfer went through, and then Mr. Foster's proposed this building, which needs variances, and folks are here to object to the variances. So that brings us to this. I do want to point out one thing. And if the planning department or Madam Chair wants to correct me, I believe what I'm going to say is true, but by all means, tell me if it's not. If the variances are denied today, and the neighborhood is very clear, you want the variances denied, and I will respect that. That's absolutely fine. I will move and ask the board to deny the variances as well. However, if Mr. Foster comes back with a plan that doesn't require variances, that is 10 feet over, that is somehow gets that garage 10 feet from all other parcels and follows city code to a T, I believe he is permitted to do what's called build by right, which means if everything you do is already within all the zoning codes. Now, whether or not he's even capable of doing that, I don't know. I'm not an architect, but I will support the neighbors who are very clear here today that you want to deny these variances, and that's fine. I will also ask the board to deny these variances. However, if he comes back with something that follows everything, I believe he is allowed to build by right. And if they want to correct that language, then please do.
This was in Business Insider today.
This was what?
Excuse me, we have the councilman speaking.
I was addressing the council.
No one speaks without being recognized, and the councilman has the floor.
Madam Chair, I give up the floor. I just wanted to clarify those couple of things, and that was the only statement I wanted to make at this time.
Okay, great. All right. To the councilman's question about right to build, Mr. Bay or Ms. Leonard, would you like to respond to that?
This is Xavier Bay. I'll defer to Shannon Leonard.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Shannon Leonard, Chief Zoning Planner and Chief Zoning Administrator That is correct. So this is a buildable lot. The applicant, if he didn't need any variances, would be able to still submit an application to build a home on this lot. It's a single family home. Another single family home could go here if he didn't need the variances by right, as the councilman had addressed. But I imagine that any future application may have the need for same variances for 21st century development due to the shape of this lot.
And would you like to speak to the city's preference for detached garage and the style of house that might be consistent for this lot, should it have to fall within the setbacks that might not need a variance?
Yeah, generally speaking, the city prefers to see garages to be in the rear half of the lot, which means that generally on lots across the city of Cleveland, not just in this neighborhood, generally are detached. That is the common context. It has been the common context. It's the reason why there's a 15-foot setback at this location is because the neighboring house to the, I believe the west, has an attached garage. So that they, the home is attached garage makes it part of the actual home itself.
Wait, say that again.
And so there's the 15-foot requirement.
And can you
Someone has
speak
an
to the
attached
character of what might be designed for a house that would be within the setbacks for a lot, in a regular shaped lot, and the scale of this lot?
Can you repeat the question?
Could you speak to, since we see a lot of irregular smaller lots, could you speak to the character? What might be the character of the house for a home that might be built on this lot within the setbacks, not needing a variance, and the size, the square footage of this parcel?
I'm not exactly sure of the size of the square footage. I believe the neighbor had just stated that they don't have an attached garage. The difference here is because of the odd shape of the lot. The house to the west is a main dwelling unit, and the main dwelling unit's within 15 feet of the detached garage that's located in the rear half of the lot here. In terms of context, I'm not exactly sure the square footage of the actual parcel. It's not in front of me. But this is not uncommon. 80% of lots in the city of Cleveland are substandard.
Great, thank you. To Mr. Foster, I believe Mr. Gale mentioned that you own the construction company and you would be the builder for this particular structure. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. And how long have you been in business?
We have been in business now for going on 34 years, 35 years almost.
And what type of house do you typically construct?
We actually generally do higher end custom homes in Northeast Ohio. Most of our work is over here in Rocky River, Bay Village, Westlake, Fairview Park. We occasionally go out of Northeastern Ohio area, depending on the size of the project. But generally speaking, we do newer, we'll say higher end market houses in the nearing suburbs.
So typically your construction would probably be 3,500 square feet and above with high-end amenities and finishing materials, correct?
Correct. So a lot of our clients are generally in that type of price range. We started off actually when we first went into business, we did a lot of historical renovation in Ohio City, Tremont, and the east side by Wade Park. We did the Christmas Story house renovation for that once upon a time. So we're very familiar with a lot of the infill related stuff. We just kind of went up market when the business moved to the Western Burbs. And to be fair, a lot of the projects that we do aren't just new builds. There are a lot of additions plus whole house remodels, renovations, things along those lines. So we have a pretty large breadth of projects that we work on across the spectrum there.
So what would you say your experience level is with building infill houses and houses of older historical age?
We've done several, so they haven't been in the Cleveland area. They've actually been usually secondary houses for clients that we've done in Sandusky and Port Clinton and things along those lines. We've done a few infills over there. But the experience is relatively similar for the size of houses that we do. So in Rocky River and Bay Village, at least, a lot of the lots are very similar to Cleveland urban lots. They're usually, unless it's obviously more of the Lake Road types that have 100 wide lots. Besides that, most of the housing stock actually is pretty similar to Cleveland's housing stock. So they're usually 50 to 60 wide, 120 to 150 deep, and they're trying to make use of all the size that they have. So generally speaking, we'll do a lot of infill additions, more so than the infill new houses. In the western burbs, at least, a lot of the housing stock it's built out. So there's not a lot of houses for new development unless you knock something down and build it up again. So there hasn't been a lot of opportunities of that just because of the land values in the area and how financially viable that is. But we have worked on very similar projects though.
Okay, so suffice it to say, I think you're pretty well versed in the construction process. Is it true that there are no existing utilities, water, sewer, gas lines existing onto the property at this point?
So the lot has never been developed. I reached out to Cleveland Water and a couple engineers. I think when I first applied for this lot about a year ago, I'd have to pull up those correspondence that I had with them. But they sent me all of the information with regards to tapping and where the lines would be in the street that I would need to, obviously bring onto the lot for infrastructure improvements.
So you'll have to open up the street in order to connect.
Likely, I'd have to check the location on that. I'm not 100% sure on where that location is, on whether or not it's in the street or if it's in the tree lawn. Obviously, the latter would be preferable. But
right.
But I can't. I'm going to have to plead ignorance on this and say that I'm not 100% sure at the moment.
All right. So to that end, you do not know which side of the street you might have to go to make the connections, whether it's your side or the far side.
Correct.
If you had to open the street.
Correct.
All right. Okay. Let me see. I think that for the moment concludes my questions. I'll go to the board. I'm going to start with Ms. Holzer on this one.
May I be recognized?
I'm sorry, who's speaking?
Curtis
We have a number of
Yes.
people in the room that would like to be heard again. I don't know if you.
All right, we're going to go to questions and then we'll see if we have time for you to come back to you, okay? All right, Ms. Holzer?
I think that my main questions were around some of the sewer issues that were mentioned, and Councilman Harsh cleared that up. So for now, I don't have any additional questions at the moment.
Okay, super. Ms. Wilson, do you want to go next?
Yes, Madam Chair, I do have a few questions for the appellant. My first question is, have you considered reconfiguring your site plan so that you do not require a variance? Is that a possibility?
The architect and I, as well as just us building, have looked into that. And from a site plan perspective, you notice that an extra 4 feet, and because the green belt, so for land bank lots, I would be attempting to get the, tax abatement for this, which necessitates certain levels of green building. So for the design that we've landed on, if you notice from the building plans, it's a double stud wall, so I need extra width on that. And with the width of a house, it would pretty much constrain the kind of financial viability of the project if we made the house thinner, because since I don't have the length that most of the houses and most of the lots do in the area, and to have a sufficient driveway with a sufficient garage, I don't have the length that would pretty much make a substantial enough house for the build costs and the upfront infrastructure improvements to make sense. And same thing with the garage. If I move that closer to the other side of the property, I still have a variance that would be necessary. Because right now it's 6 feet away from the house, but if I centered it on the lot there, that would essentially kill a lot of the green space from the house, as well as just make the buildability a little bit questionable all around.
Okay, thank you. And so my next question, you slightly answered it, but I do want to have a clear an articulate answer to this question. So if you are denied a variance request, can you articulate what practical difficulty you would face that would be unique to your land and not experienced by other lands in the general area?
Sure. So if I was denying this request, I would likely not be able to build at all, which would obviously be a shame. I love the neighborhood. I totally empathize with everyone's opposition to it, considering that nothing has been done on this lot for almost 30 years now. And I just think it's a beautiful area. I'd love to move back into there. But from a contextual aspect of things, I mostly heard a lot of aspects with regards to how close things would be, the garage being close to the house, and then just kind of the general parking on the street. Similar to Councilman Harsh, I agree that parking is is not necessarily relevant to the conversation of the legal precedents on this. With regards to the context, almost every single house, if you look at the aerial views on the GIS map, virtually no house would be conforming in this to current code. The only aspect that you could probably argue would be that the driveways and the concrete between houses would be the only buffering factor between residences. And in my case, since I have 3 corner lots essentially abutting my side yard, that would that essentially kills that opportunity for this lot to have that buffer. And when we look at adjacent properties, again, with the garages being close to the house, I believe it was Mr. Gallagher's house. That garage is also non-conforming to the closeness of, I believe it's Janet's house. So even in the immediate context of the block level, I would argue that the house would be conforming to the general context of the area. But yeah, the hardship would be that I wouldn't be able to build. And that would be obviously a huge kind of downer on that front from a more casual level there. But yeah, that it would pretty much destroy the viability of the project.
Okay, and my final question to you, Mr. Foster, if you are unable to build, can you state whether your property rights would be affected in a way that is substantial?
I believe my previous answer would probably have answered that in the sense that the property rights would not be in equal protection comparatively to the neighboring properties and the neighbors as to how their properties have been built, how their properties have historically been used, and how the neighborhood context kind of makes sense in this urban area. So that's how my rights would be on that front.
Okay, Madam Chair, that concludes my questions. Thank you.
Excellent. Mr. Foster, just for a couple of points of clarification to one of Ms. Wilson's questions, could you just clarify for the folks what green build means and what double studding means so that everybody understands those construction terms?
Sure. So for the tax abatement program within the city, you have to essentially adhere to enterprise green building standards. There's a million ways you could do it. There's, generally speaking, the most common within the city of Cleveland with other developers in the city that do larger scale developments, whether that's Kinez, Civic Builders, or anyone else. They generally do Energy Star certification, which has certain levels of energy efficiency, electrification, certain things you can do with the land to mitigate runoff, things along those lines. So if you get that certification for any of those green building techniques, then the tax abatement, plus everything else you have to do for the tax abatement, then the city will grant that. For the double stud regarding things, that's essentially to maximize the amount of insulation and air sealing that the house will have. A double stud wall is essentially, imagine if you go actually to, I believe it should be on the last page of my drawing plans. Right, one more, two more maybe. Yeah, right there. So the detail section to the right essentially shows you have an exterior wall that is load bearing. That would be your normal wall that carries the structure of the house that goes all the way down to the foundation, supports the roof and everything like that. And then you have an airspace, and then you have an interior wall that is essentially non-load bearing, but adds depth to the wall cavity that will allow you to do further air sealing, further insulation values to get the efficiency of the house up. So code currently at 2019 Ohio building standards is a 21 wall, an R21 wall with kind of minimal air sealing levels that need to be tested. My house, the goal with my house would be to get it to net zero ready at the very least, that in the future, if I added solar panels to the rear, it would be pretty much a net positive, or at least a net zero house from an energy production standpoint.
Great, thank you. I
Mhm.
just wanted to explain the higher level of standard that is necessary for green build and the double stud, in that it utilizes utilizes the building techniques that allow for the greenest possible area on the parcel and the highest level of insulation, which also goes to sound deadening and things of that nature. So, thank
Correct.
you.
Yeah, it's very, the standards are pretty strict, and we're definitely trying to do it for the most cost effective way there is there.
Right. Okay. All right. Ms. Rocco, I'll go to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like Mr. Bay to go back to the aerial view, please. And this is a question for Ms. Leonard. And I know we don't have exact measurements on this, but if we could try to answer this question as best as possible. To me, it looks as though almost every garage to the right of Mr. Foster's property would potentially be non-conforming. Is that an fairly accurate statement, Ms. Leonard, based on the proximity to the other garages?
Not necessarily. So the garages to the rear of the property, you can have an accessory unit in closer distance to another accessory structure. The issue that we're having here is that the accessory structure is within that 15 feet of a main unit. And that's really typically in the city of Cleveland, you can't park within 10 feet of any space that has like a habitable window. And so that's really why that 15-foot requirement is there.
Okay, so it's the house to the right of Mr. Foster's property that is causing this.
That's
Yes.
correct.
Yeah. Okay. That answers my question. But in general, I mean, what Mr. Foster is attempting to do here appears to be exactly the same as all the other houses on the street. A single family home with a detached garage behind it. So keeping the legal standard in mind, it appears to me that what he's asking to do is in line with the rest of the character of the street.
No.
That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Rocco. Okay, so I just want to double check too. I believe Councilman Harsh, you said that this particular parcel went up on sheriff's sale in 2017. And from there, it went into the Cleveland City Land Bank. And it is undeveloped. How long has it been vacant? Do you know? And if that timeline is correct?
Madam Chair, I believe this parcel has always been vacant. There's never been anything built, but it's sat in the land bank for the last 7 years. I would also say, Madam Chair, to the question about unequal application of the law, I believe that the current zoning was put in place after everything in this picture was already constructed. I do not believe any residents have actually gotten variances for any structure you see. These are all grandfathered in, and that's why we grandfather parcels in, correct? When we update zoning code, we do not penalize people who had structures built before that code was enacted. So I believe all structures in this visual are grandfathered in, and therefore the current zone is not applicable to them. And I don't believe there are any variances on record for any of those structures, and therefore it wouldn't be an unequal application of the law for this board to strike down the variance request. And I would also like to point out, Madam Chair, because I know you're not here today, we do have some questions. The residents did go to great lengths to be here, and if, I think a couple of them have questions if there's time for it, Madam Chair.
Right, okay. We're going to take very quick statements. You're going to be limited to 2 minutes for anything follow-up, and I'm gonna have someone in the room call the first person. Perhaps Councilman Harsh, you'd like to call the people in order.
Madam Chair, there are two, but I'd like to start with Mr. Kedzik if I could, because he lives next door.
Yes.
That's fine. Go ahead.
I've had my house already, what do they call it, surveyed? And already my surveying markers on that lot side are moved. And I do not like this whole idea. You're gonna cram me into a spot which I didn't buy. I didn't buy a spot there to be crammed in.
Okay.
And then
Ernest Daftovich at 5822. And, you know, I'm going to agree with Daniel Foster's point that this is a Gerald Zagarla project in 2001. The proposal, I believe, was actually approved. The house looked very similar to those that are being currently built in Ohio City with an underground garage. The garage came in, right? That at that time in 2001, the cost came in at approximately $200,000, $250,000 to build. So, you know, in today's money, you know, it would be cost prohibitive, obviously. I recently spoke to the former city council president, Kevin Kelly, who resides on Brookside Drive. Mr. Kelly recalled meeting with Mr. Zagarla and his architects in an effort to modify the design to win approval from the board. Mr. Kelly, now a common pleas judge, recalled that the dimensions of the lot made it, you know, unsuitable to build a property like this with a detached garage. So that's why Zagarla went with the Ohio City style with the underground garage. So in order to avoid the dimension variance, that's probably the situation that Mr. Foster would have to come up with. Just as, you know, an added thing, a landowner's self-inflicted hardship is not grounds for zoning variance. So, you know, if you didn't do your research and you want a zoning variance, and you know, that hardship is squarely on Mr. Foster's shoulders. I don't want to make any enemies, but that's just the way it is.
I believe, sir, when you say an Ohio City style house, you're talking about the townhomes with the front-loading garages that are underneath the residential floors?
Correct. They're building them on like 44th Street as well, I believe.
Mhm.
In that old Ohio City area, when you get down toward down toward Ignatius, the Ignatius area.
Right, right.
South of the
Okay. All right. Does that conclude final comments from the residences, Councilman?
I believe there's one last statement, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Looking at the diagram.
I need to know who's speaking
Oh, I'm
first,
sorry,
please.
Marie Vivolo at 6020 Park Ridge on the
All
north
right.
side.
Go ahead.
I have three things. One, it looks like the house is sticking out way further than all the rest of the residences, other houses, and I see difficulty in backing out of your driveway with traffic coming. It's like obstructing, I don't know how many feet further it is sticking out from all of the other homes on the street. In regards to the sewer, it would be in the street. We've had a hole in the street. Is it in front of your house?
Right.
What, east, catty corner east of the property, for over a year, there was a hole with the sewer. Prior to that, further west down the street, we had a hole in the street. The sewers are in the street and they're on our north side of the street, which is opposite the property. And just a comment in regards to the OB, the Brooklyn, Old Brooklyn, about needing new builds in the city. If you're giving tax abatements, what's the financial benefit of having a new build in the city? And is he really gonna move from Rocky River to live in a little boxed in house? I can't believe, and I know you say you could do whatever you want with the property, but I find it hard to believe that this gentleman's gonna move from Rocky River to live in this house. That's all I have to say.
Okay, let's just take one point here. We have two variances that are before us. One is the side yard, and one is the detached garage. So in response to your question about front yard setback, if the front yard setback was an issue, that would be listed as a variance. It's not. So I just want to be clear that there is no front yard setback that is before us. I see that someone has a hand up. I'm not sure who that is.
That's me, madam.
Oh,
Okay,
Oh, might be me as well. I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
okay. And as to the sewer connections, I think Councilman Harsh has indicated that the sewer has been assessed as inadequate and that replacement is in the works going forward. I'm going to go to city planning, please, if you're for comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Xavier Bay, representing city planning. These two variances that we're seeing today are very common variances that we've seen at various Board of Zoning Appeals meetings. Looking at the conditions here on the site plan, we don't see an issue with the interior side yard 10 feet variance that the applicant's requesting here. On the right side of the image here, you can see it's 6 feet at the pinch point as it extends as you go closer to the street. So we don't see an issue that this would cause with any maintenance that anybody needs to do either on a fence on the adjacent property owners or for the build of this house. And then for the garage, I guess we don't see an issue with this because it's these back 2 feet of the adjacent structure that's within the 6 feet here for the required distancing of an adjacent main structure to this garage. One thing that I guess that the board would be able to do is to add a condition for the applicant to shift the proposed garage further into the lot to allow for more access and maintenance here. We don't see these as issues. When I was doing the site visit, a lot of the street context kind of is what you see similar here to this adjacent house. They're built practically like right to the property line, probably 2 feet off the property line. So that concludes really any of the statements I have here. I guess another thing I would add is I guess that was already mentioned. Yeah, the front yard isn't an issue. They weren't written up for the front yard, and they do have a lot less depth. And when you look at the adjacent parcel lines or parcels, a lot of the other parcels on the street actually have a depth of 120 to 130 feet when they're restricted here at about 99.6 feet on this side of the parcel. So that's all I have to add for this case.
Great. All right, this might be a question for our legal or for Ms. Leonard. But I believe that when this parcel went to Land Bank in 2017, that would have been a matter of public record so that anyone who might have been interested in making the purchase could have applied to Land Bank to purchase it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
I have a quick question, if you don't mind.
Mary, if you'd identify yourself for the record, please.
Sorry, Mary Cornelius, Law Department. Did you say, Jana?
Yes.
That John used to own the property?
No, I think John is the second owner of his home, but
Oh.
originally that property belonged to that home. My husband's grandparents was the first house built there, and all the neighbors always talked about, you know, the beautiful property that was there, and then all of a sudden it was sold. And I don't know why that
I'm assuming
happened.
it was sold so somebody could build on it?
Well, that was the intention, but
Okay.
I know otherwise, I just don't wanna,
Okay.
I don't know how to explain that to you. But yes, it's the gentleman at the end with the walker. It
Oh.
was his property and
I got you.
to that
Okay.
home
Before he owned it.
before he owned it.
Before you, okay.
Could I be recognized for one more comment?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, who's speaking?
Ernest Stavtovich.
Go ahead, Ernest. Be quick, please.
Yes, with respect to the property's conversion to the land bank, I have a voice transcript from Mr. Harsh dated September 22nd, 2023. It's an IA transcript, so it's kind of difficult. Hi, Miss, you have the village. This is Chris Harsh. Got a message that you called. I know that I left a card on your door. It's about the lot behind you. There's a proposal to build a single family house there. It would be an owner occupied structure of my family who used to live in the neighborhood. But I wanted to find out how all the neighbors that border feel about it before approving the transfer to the city land bank. So it has not been approved yet, and I'm waiting to get more input. So far, that is kind of split down the middle. So I'm not really interested to hear what your thoughts are. That's the AI talking, not me. Can you reach me? You can reach me at, and he gave me two numbers. So I don't know how this ended up, right? I mean, either it wasn't a land bank on September 22nd, or it wasn't.
Well,
Madam
sir,
Chair, that's a clearly inaccurate transcript. I've never called somebody. and
Well,
said,
I
"I'm
have,
interested
I
in
also
hearing
have,
what you think."
the voicemail.
gentlemen,
Yeah.
quite frankly, that is not before us, how it got in the land bank. It was
Well,
in the land bank.
Didn't our
So
legal
what is
ask
before,
about
what
it?
is before us for our adjudication are the two variances. I'm going to ask Mr. Foster one final question. Mr. Foster, will you explain to me the finishing materials you plan to use, particularly on the garage?
Sure thing. So I believe it is spec'd on the final pages there, but I believe on the wall section of that, it shows, so we'll be using, at least spec'd, it has vinyl siding to match the house, to kind of keep in character with that. If we need additional fire rating, if the board feels like that, that it's warranted, on top of the 5/8 gypsum on the interior with fire retardant insulation, and everything along those lines, then I could have that respect. But already the 5/8 gypsum board and the fire retardant insulation, I believe, go towards the specific fire rating code that is escaping me from a code standpoint.
Right,
But
Mr. Foster. So here's the situation. We cannot mandate you to use any material above and beyond what is required by fire and building code. Your plans will go through fire. They will go through building for approval. I would suggest, however, that given and I do this for many cases, that given the distance constraints, that you consider re-specifying that to cementitious boards to add a certain level of degree of fire retardancy.
yeah, something similar to hardy board.
Would you be amenable to that?
Yes, I'd be
Okay,
amenable to that.
right.
Yep.
Okay.
Madam
Board,
Chair,
any further questions or comments?
Madam Chair, this is Liz Kukla.
Yes, Ms. Kukla.
I believe I heard Mr. Bay state that, or request the appellant to address possibly moving the garage off the property line more. I'm not sure if the appellant had explained the hardship there. Just from my records, I'd like to hear.
Right, I'm glad you brought that up, Ms. Kukla, because I think Mr. Bay's comment loops back to Mr. Foster's description of making sure that he fulfills the green building code requirements. Mr. Foster can re-clarify that though in response to your question.
Yeah, so there's definitely some aspects of the green enterprise community requirements that expect a level of green space behind the house, and also that would increase the impervious material for the lot, which would not help the current, according to all the residents, flooding issues that occur. I'm going to be attempting to put in more porous material, so planting strips on the driveway and things like that to try to help with runoff. Excuse me, but the additional concrete and things along those lines to shift the garage to the center or possibly even to the other side of the lot, we would still be running into issues, because then I believe I would be if I move it to the farthest portion of the lot. One, I still have to have that interior side yard setback, but then two, as I move it further right, I now near the setback requirement to keep that adjacent to the same house that Mr. Gallagher's garage is close to. I believe it's Janet's house, to the south property. So in both situations, that would be I would be nearing that setback requirement either way, which would still require a variance for the garage.
Does that satisfy your question, Ms. Kukla?
Yes, thank you.
Certainly.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to go to the board. One quick round to make sure none of you have any other questions. Ms. Wilson, anything further?
Nothing further, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Holzer, anything further?
Madam Chair, just a quick question to Mr. Foster. Had he considered just omitting a garage altogether, would that have resolved any of the code issues or variance issues?
No, in the sense that, well, if I omitted a garage, I do have a vehicle myself, and I also have valuables that I would like to store in the garage. I have at least from a personal standpoint, one of the requirements of the Energy Star Next Gen is to have electric car charging that's available for the lot. And the easiest way to do that is to have that line ran into the garage. And so that's similar to myself. I have a plug-in hybrid, which I do charge. So that would be advantageous from a, I guess, marketability and just from a quality of life standpoint for myself. But then two, also, since this is technically classified within the county as a regularly shaped lot, even though we're all kind of acknowledging that it's not, it still would have to do that. I would still have to have the variance for the main house. So that would still kind of cause a viability issue with how thin that would have to be on that front.
Sure. Thank you.
You good, Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
All right, great. Ms. Rotha, anything final?
Ms. Kukla asked the question I was going to ask, so I'm good.
All right. All right. Excellent. We do have one condition, and Mr. Foster is amenable to that, is to re-specify the exterior finishing material on the garage to some sort of cementitious process to add some fire retardancy. All right, board, I will entertain a motion. I think probably Ms. Wilson or Ms. Roca, you want to take this one?
I can take it. Madam
you.
Chair, I move based on all the testimony that we've heard today from the appellant, the city, adjacent residents, and the council person, councilman, excuse me. I move that we approve calendar number 24-060 with the condition that the appellant re-specify the exterior material on the detached garage as stated in the record today.
Thank you, Ms. Roca. Could I have a second?
Board Member Holzer, I second.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer, for the second. Ms. Kukla, if you'll call the vote.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
Ms. Roca,
Yes.
Ms. Bates.
Yes.
Calendar number 24-060 is granted conditionally. Madam Chair, would you like to hold it until we receive some sort of updated drawing or
Yes, ma'am.
documentation? Okay,
That's
we
our
will hold
standard
ratification.
SOP, so yes.
We will hold ratification until we receive those new documents. Once we receive them, we will ratify it that following Monday, send you a letter.
Nature means nothing to the world, it's all money, yeah.
Super. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for coming in. We appreciate your time and your comments today.
Statement on that out.
Still not clear, and, you know.
They got that down, you know, and I went through this.
Folks, Councilman, if you might facilitate having
They could
your
get tax statement 15 years,
constituents.
right? What the hell is that? I don't get nothing.
Yeah, this is not the first time they've overruled me. They much.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's what happened to me in Tremont.
Yes, you will.
All right, do we have any other council people present, Mr. Bay?
No, Madam Chair, this is Xavier Bay. I do not see any more council people present.
Excellent. Let's loop back to 24-058 Columbus Road.
All right, I'm just scrolling down on the agenda. Okay.
We're doing a little hopping around today.
All good. All right. Our next case is calendar number 24-058. This is at 2281 Columbus Road. St. Wendelin Parish owner proposes to install an electric changeable copy monument sign in a B1 multifamily residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are two. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Wilson for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. Is there anyone in the room who's present for this matter? Okay, perfect. I'll have you take a spot at the table. Hopefully this will
I'm
be
now 45 minutes late for my 11 o'clock mass.
Hopefully we can get you out of here fairly quickly.
There's two of us also online for this.
I was just gonna ask, okay, I'll swear them in first and then I'll come and acknowledge you after that.
Thank you, sorry.
No problem at all. All right, so I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? I have you raise your right hand, reply with I do, state your name, spell your name, and give your address.
I do. Robert, R-O-B-E-R-T, Kropak, K-R-O-P-A-C, 2281 Columbus Road.
Very good, thank you.
John M. Model, it's M-O-T-L, 3265 Windtree Drive, Seven Hills, Ohio.
Okay, thank you. All right, I will now turn to those who are present online to speak in this matter. You want to go ahead and swear in?
Yep. Laura Wyma, W-O-Y-M-A at 4811 Van Epps Road, Cleveland, Ohio, 44131. And I think I got to say that when I started. And I also have someone else here.
Okay, thank you.
My name's Jack Maxwell, Brilliant Electric Sign Company, 4811 Van Epps Road, Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay, and do you swear to tell the truth?
We
Yes.
do. Yep.
Okay, very good. Is there anyone else online who wishes to speak in this matter? All right, hearing none, I'll hand it back to you, Madam Chair.
Apologies. Donna.
Uh-oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Ms. Gregonis. Go ahead and swear in, please.
Donna Gregonis, Tremont West Development Corporation, 2406 Professor Road. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right. I think we
All
got
right.
them on this side. Oh, did I hear another one?
I think that was just me.
Oh, okay, very good. Thanks, Madam Chair. Back to
I
you.
think, right? Do we have everyone?
I think
All
we
right,
do.
Super. Let's go to history of the property.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. In our Records Administration Office, we found that in 1903, a permit was issued to erect a one-story church In 1909, a permit was issued to erect a 1.5-story addition. And in 1912, an additional structure was added to the building. And Madam Chair, there are no variances on file and nothing of note in the more recent history. Thank you.
Super, thanks. Let's go to legal standard.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting area variances from the maximum square footage and maximum height for freestanding identification sign requirements of the zoning code and a variance to allow an electronic message center to display information pertinent to a community facility use on the premises. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. To obtain the community facility sign variance, the board must determine that the sign will provide community information, that the sign will not adversely affect the character of nearby residential properties, that the sign is for a community facility use, that the information displayed on the sign shall be limited to information that pertains to a community facility, that each display of information shall remain static or fixed for a minimum of 20 seconds, and that the sign shall be either a wall sign or a freestanding sign with a maximum area of 30 square feet. Alternatively, the board may approve a sign that varies from the above requirements if it determines that the sign will meet a community need without adversely impacting the character of nearby residential properties.
Super, thank you. Who's going to be the spokesperson?
I'm sorry.
Father
Yeah.
Kropak. I'll speak first if that's okay.
All right, who wants to go first?
Me.
Go ahead.
I don't
Go ahead.
know. When you speak, you have to state your name first for the court reporter, please.
Yeah, Father Robert Kropak.
Thank you.
I'm the pastor of St. Gwendolyn.
Thank you, Father. Go ahead, tell us what you want to do.
Thank you. As you can see, there is a sign currently which no longer functions. It's broken, it's rusted out. So we wanted to replace it. I realized that the sign is bigger than the code permits that we're proposing. It's not much bigger than what's there now. It's a little bit higher because we didn't want to remove the hedge. We think the hedge is an important part of the beauty of the property and the neighborhood. And so we thought in designing the sign, and the people from Brilliant can help on this, that we wanted to elevate it a little bit more and make it large enough that it would be visible to people driving by without being distracting or squinting at it, you know. So that's the location of the sign would be exactly where the current one is. The interesting thing to me is that the only other residences on the block, other than the building that I live in, which is the rectory there, right behind the sign, are two next to the rectory to the south, neither of which could see the sign from their houses. On the other side of Willie Avenue, you wouldn't see the sign even from those residences over there. The corner lot is owned by a parishioner. They're have been very supportive of this. Probably the other thing I would mention is we brought this up at the Island Block Club meeting on Monday last week, and the Block Club was very supportive of this. When they took a vote, and I don't know exactly what the vote was, it was general support with one abstention. Nobody was. I don't know if the folks from Tremont West, Donna, if she has the notes from that meeting, but I don't.
Okay.
So I think that's kind of what I know.
Super, thanks, Father. So I believe what you stated is the new sign proposed will occupy the same footprint as the existing sign. Is that correct?
I think it may be slightly larger. I don't have the exact.
Same location.
Yeah, same location. same basic thing, it's just a little bit higher.
All right. And how long has your hedge been there? Like forever,
Well, it's-
probably?
yeah, like forever. It's I mean, it looks pretty good and we keep it trimmed.
Okay.
But, you know, we would like the sign to be elevated. Right now, it's kind of below the level of the hedge.
Got it. Okay.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I've been there 12 years and,
I've been there 40 years.
you've been there 40 years, so.
And the hedge has always been there.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Super. So we don't want to take the hedge away. All right. And it looks like from the rendering that the movable part of the sign only occupies one point and then or one side of that middle section. And
It's
then
two-sided.
right,
double-sided.
two-sided, but half of the middle section, because you've
Correct.
got, or are the crosses that are in there, are they part of that movable sign?
They are part of that as well.
Okay, they're part of that graphic. Okay. All right, super. All right, so thank you, Father. Let's go to Mr. Model real quick.
Oh, I'm just a parish council, part of the parish council, and obviously we're in support of this, that we need a new sign. As Father stated, the old sign is broken and has to be replaced. And we felt this was a very good improvement to present our message to the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Model. Are both Laura and Jack with the sign company?
Yes, we're
Yes.
here.
Okay, one of you can make statement then? Well, you can both make statement, but one of you needs to go first.
Yeah, I'll go first. It's Laura. Same thing with the priest said. It's not much bigger than what is there. Keeping with the landscape of the hedges, they wanted to make sure that the traffic could see the sign and not have to remove any of that, just because it's been there for so long and it goes with their landscaping. And they are very nice. If you know that church, it's a very beautiful church, and the hedges really do help with that landscape and make that building so beautiful. Other things, they're only going to be promoting their masses. There's going to be no advertising of any other sorts. It's only going to be on the scrolling. There will be no flashing, only scrolling for a minimum of 20 seconds or whatever the code allows. I think it was the 20 seconds. And it won't adversely affect any residents over there. There isn't many houses across the street. And if anyone has any other questions for me, they could ask. And I think Jack wanted to add something, maybe more than I have.
Sure,
this is
go ahead, Jack.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This is Jack. So yes, I don't want to reiterate too much about what everybody else said there. One thing with the brick base we're gonna be using a masonry base. We are gonna be matching it to the church, so that will be unified to the property. And everything else kind of everybody touched on there. That's basically the gist of everything there. So if there is any questions, I'm more than willing to answer anything.
Okay.
May I add one more thing?
You will add the
Oh,
Madam Chair.
may I add one more thing?
Is that Father? Is that you?
Yes.
All right.
yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
But I forgot to mention, I'm looking at the picture, there is nothing on the other side of the street besides the RTA tracks.
Right.
And they're below grade level, so just so everybody knows that.
Super. Good to point out. I'm just looking at the aerial shot right now. Talk to me a little bit about where the driveway is and adjacent to the sign.
Well, there's a parking lot next to it, so the aprons for the lot in and out are pretty wide. I'm guessing at least 40 feet there. So you can see there's a telephone pole in the middle of it. If you look at the lower left, you can see the access to the parking lot.
Got it. Super. All right. Excellent. All right, let's go to Ms. Gregonis for comments.
Good afternoon, almost. Madam Chair and members of the board again. This did not come before the Economic Development Committee at Tremont west, but it did go before the neighborhood, and they did confirm what they said, that they were in support of it. And I know that we all appreciate all the great work that St. Wendelin does. And we do love the historic nature of the building, and whatever we can do to help keep their business and their work, flourishing in the neighborhood. We're looking forward to their new signage. So thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if it's been Laura and Jack with us at each time, but we have had a number of these electronic signs before us fairly recently. That seems to be the current trend with the churches. So let's go for questions from the board. Actually, let's go to city planning before we have questions. Mr. Bay, can you make a statement?
Yes, thank you. This is Xavier Bay, City Planning. As you mentioned, Madam Chair, this is another common variance that we see as a lot of facilities are upgrading their old school signage for more updated digital signage. We don't see any issues with the variances being requested here today. And the part that's actually digital takes up only about 16 square feet of the total sign. So we don't see an issue with the variances being requested. Another addition that Father mentioned, how there aren't any residential uses close enough to be negatively impacted by this sign. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, let's do Ms. Holzer first.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I apologize if I missed this. Will the electrical sign be on 24 hours?
Good question. I think most people leave their signage on 24 hours. It's something we thought about. I don't know, Jack.
Yeah, so I didn't want to talk over you there, Father. So most of the time, what we see with signage like this, and the boards come with unlimited programming abilities with it. We do see if at a certain time the board sees that, hey, after 12 o'clock midnight to 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning, the board be shut off and then continue on from there. That's always a capability of the board if it's needed. 24 hours, don't see a lot of people doing that, but just depending on the traffic going by, if they do see that there still is a good amount of traffic going through the nighttime, and they want to leave it on, that's a capability of the board. Otherwise, we do have the ability to shut it on and off at a certain time, if that is a worry of anybody's.
Thank you, Jack. Excellent question, Ms. Holzer. Hours have been limited depending on the situation of these signs within the neighborhoods where they're located. So, Ms. Holzer, if you have any thoughts on hours of limited use, go ahead and let us know.
I don't necessarily have any recommendation, especially since there, as Xavier mentioned, it seems like it's far enough away from any residential parcels that it might not be a nuisance. I would defer to the parish, and if they think that it needs to be on 24 hours, so be it. Or Donna, I don't know if Tremont West has any preference. I'm just curious then, if the sign is not on overnight, for example, is there any other ground lighting that will be illuminating the sign were it to be off?
At this,
go ahead, Jack.
I apologize. At this time, we do not have any alternative ground lighting or anything like that proposed in this. That is something that if the board saw that fit, that they needed, but it really, the purpose of the board was just for the electronic message center part of things to be illuminated, and then from there, if there were any illumination for nighttime, to be able to read the lettering and everything like that. I can discuss with the church and make sure that they're okay with that, and then that is something I think that would be accommodatable. If that is a word, I apologize.
Ms. Gregonis, does the CDC have any preference as to hours of operation of the sign?
Thank you for asking. At this moment, we don't have an official statement about this. I know I have worked on other projects where when there is residential housing across the street, to take some consideration for that. But at the moment, the site plan doesn't seem like anything's going to be there for a couple of years. But some of the plans that are there that I've seen in the future look like there will be housing at some point. So I just welcome St. Wendelin to, work with us in the future and their future neighbors if that becomes an issue, and I trust that they would. So with that being said, I don't have anything official to say about it.
Okay, great. Given that, it seems to me that it might be prudent at this particular point in time to allow for 24-hour operation, just offering some ambient lighting on the streetscape for safety, perhaps, if nothing else, and to give the church presence with the understanding going forward. And this might be in the language of the motion to allow for discussion with the CDC and the church and should housing development occur within the future. All right, Ms. Wilson, anything?
No, Madam Chair, I'm all set. Thank you.
Super. Ms. Roca?
No, the appellants have testified to all the conditions in the legal standard, so I am also all set.
All set. Good, good. Okay. So I think the understanding is that as the sign company indicated, that the sign will be used to display messaging for the masses and any events that are happening at the church and the premises, that the sign will be scrolling, that it will fulfill the static or fixed 20-second requirement, and that all the other conditions will be met aside from the size. Any further discussion of this? All right, who would like to take the motion on this one?
Madam Chair, I'm happy to move on this. Given the testimony that we have heard in calendar number 24-058, I move that we approve the variance that has been requested here today.
Thank you. Could I have a second, please?
Board Member Roca, I second.
Thank you, Ms. Roca. All right, Ms. Kukla, if you'd like to call the vote.
Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Ms. Roca?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Bay?
Yes.
Calendar number 24-058 is granted. It'll be ratified next Monday. We will send you a letter, but please feel free to contact our office next Wednesday for further instruction.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Now maybe I can get to my 11 o'clock mass.
I understand.
Mass is late today.
It's mountain time. You'll-
A little.
If it's mountain time, you'll make it.
Oh, yeah, there we go. No, I won't, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. All right. I believe that brings us to 24-059, Ms. Holzer.
All right. Just need to scroll. Okay. Our next case is calendar number 24-059. This is at 2417 Professor Street. Alex Gondo, parenthetically, the new owner, proposes to establish use as a cilantro restaurant in a C1 general retail business district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there is one. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Wilson for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. I will swear in all who are present for this case, and I'll start with those of you who are in the room. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? I have you raise your right hand, reply with I do, state your name, spell your name, and give your address. I'll start with you.
I do. Reynaldo Galindo, Reynaldo, Galindo, and 1270 West 70th Street, Cleveland, Ohio.
Thank you. I'll go to you next.
I do. Sandro Galindo, Sandro Galindo, 1759 West 52nd Street, Cleveland, Ohio, 44102.
Okay.
I do. Richard Lally, 12900 Lake Avenue, Lakewood, Ohio, 44107.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone online who wishes to speak in this matter?
I do.
I mean, do we need to swear her in again? Just for the record, let's do it.
I just say I do, Donna.
I do, and Donna Grigonis, Grigonis. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Okay.
spending the morning with us, Donna.
Uh-huh. Is there anyone else online wishing to speak in this matter? Thanks. All right, hearing none, back to you, Madam Chair.
Super. All right. We'll take history of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's no change in the zoning since 1929. We didn't find much of this property in our records administration office. We found that in 1895, a permit was issued for a two-story addition on the property. And there are no variances on file and nothing of note in the more recent history. Thank you.
Super. All right, legal standard, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting an area variance from the parking requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and the granting variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you. Mr. Lally, are you the architect for this project? Are you going to be the spokesperson?
I am, and yes, I can.
Okay, go ahead.
The property was purchased by the Galindos, and it did not include a parking agreement. So I believe you have in your hands the agreement for the required required parking.
Yes, Madam Chair, I have a letter from Tremont Park. States to whom it may concern, please be advised that Tremont Park LLC has agreed to provide parking for Cilantro Taqueria employees and patrons at their lot located at 807 Jefferson Avenue. We have accommodations for approximately 32 vehicles and operate 7 days per week. And it's signed by Thomas K. Bell, managing member.
Perfect. All right. I'll go to the other two appellants. Do you have any further comment?
No, we got a letter from the Block Club in support of us too.
All right, super. We'll go to Ms. Grigonis.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the board once again. So Mr. Galindo and the rest of his team have been working pretty diligently to make sure that they are compliant with the parking requirements. Everyone across the board, the neighborhood that was presented this variance, in addition to the Economic Development Committee from Tremont West Development Corporation, unanimously approved it. And it is important to note that, you know, people do talk about the parking issues a lot in Tremont, but, you know, before this, there was Fahrenheit, and they had many more tables, and I think more of a standard rush, I would say. And they didn't seem to produce many issues, if any, in the 15 plus years that they were in this exact location. So I just wanted to note that we believe that this won't cause an issue for the neighborhood either. And they did sign an agreement with the property owner across the street from their location here for more than enough spaces, as we do think that most of the traffic will come around lunch, and a lot of it will come from the neighborhood, from our understanding. So we look forward to them opening here soon, and hope that our testimony is good for this. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ms. Gregonis. Yeah, I think that raises a good point that Fahrenheit occupied the space and was a different concept in terms of dining, and this likely will be more foot traffic and carry out and that sort of thing. Let's go to city planning for comment.
Hello, Madam Chair. This is Xavier Bay representing City Planning. It's great to hear that they have talked with locals in the area for other uses of parking. We don't see any issue with approving the variances here today. As you just heard from Ms. Gregonis, that Fahrenheit was previously occupied the space and also didn't have much parking. As you can see, the lot, there's nowhere to park on the lot as well. So that's all I have for this case.
Super, thank you. All right, let's go to Ms. Wilson first for questions.
Yes, Madam Chair, to the appellant, can you just speak to what the practical difficulty would be if you are not granted this variance?
Kenobi?
That's a good question, gentlemen. I'm not the operator, but
Our customers would have a little more challenging way to find a place to park, I guess, or?
yeah, it might cause more congestion there.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with takeout orders, a lot of the DoorDash Uber drivers will just park in front instead of going to the parking lot. And it's a small street, so with them blocking, it would not help the traffic there. So they can just go to the parking lot and walk right up to our restaurant.
Okay.
Instead of just parking street.
Thank you. Madam Chair, that concludes my question.
All right, great. It does raise a good point, though. Gentlemen, you mentioned DoorDash, other delivery service. Is that a large percentage of your business?
Yes.
Okay. And are you going to be able to have some designated spot for delivery parking?
Yeah, we're working with Tremont West on that, and also we're looking to have a window. So people just walk up and we'll hand out the window.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
All right. All right, Ms. Gregonis, can you chime in on the delivery parking situation?
Hi, so we have not discussed in a lot of detail, but I do know that I brought it up to them regarding the delivery services. Sometimes when there might be a large rush, I know some of the other businesses have had 15-minute parking in front or on the side, and we would like to continue working with the councilman and other city planning departments to make sure that we can get that. But I know they wanted to move forward with the variance as soon as possible, and we hope that there are no issues with parking.
All right, and I think if there's a delivery window, that might expedite things too. People can just pick up and run. All right, super. Let's go to Ms. Roca next.
Nothing for me.
All right, super. Ms. Holzer, anything?
I do not have any additional questions, Madam Chair.
All right, any other comments? All right, who'd like to take the motion on this?
I can take it.
Super, thank you, Ms. Holzer.
Absolutely. So having heard testimony from the appellant and from the CDC, recognizing that there's no space on the lot to potentially build a parking lot without taking down part of the building, I'm going to move approval of calendar number 24-059.
Super, thank you so much. Could I have a second?
Madam Chair, Board Member Wilson, I will second that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. All right, Ms. Kukla, we'll call the vote.
Ms. Roca?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Ms. Babe?
Yes.
Calendar number 24-059 is granted. It'll be ratified next Monday. We will send the appellant's letter, but to the appellant, please feel free to contact our office next week for further instruction on Wednesday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good
You
luck.
want a copy of the
yes,
information
please.
document?
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Donna. Thanks for
you.
spending time with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Good luck with your project.
All right, that brings us to calendar number 24-038.
Madam Chair, could we call 24-049 again? We do have, I believe, a neighbor in here that's been waiting patiently, and perhaps
Oh
we
my
should
goodness
just,
sakes, really?
yeah, just dismiss it and be done with it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Oh, dear, dear, dear.
Appreciate that.
All right, just trying to go back and find that. All right. So calendar number 24-049, do we have an appellant present? Do we have an appellant present online?
And if you are on the phone, please use *6 to unmute your.
Have we had any communication from the appellant?
No, not of this morning at 9:30 when we started our hearing.
All right.
Hello, ma'am. This is Otis from HA&T. I'd like to know, did I miss 5106 Lorraine?
Yes.
Yes,
I did?
you did.
Oh, wow.
It
Can
was
I
withdrawn.
ask what happened?
It was approved, sir.
It was
It was
approved. Okay,
withdrawn.
thank you so much,
Actually,
ma'am.
sorry, Lorraine Avenue was withdrawn. A variance is no longer needed.
Right,
Okay,
right.
so we can proceed then, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
Thank you so very much.
you're welcome.
All right, have a great day.
All right, back to 24-049. What were you going to say, Liz?
I was just asking for somebody, if there was somebody online, if they should use *6 to unmute.
Right, thanks. All right, Miss Leonard has her hand up.
Good morning, Madam Chair. 523 East 140th, the applicant is working with planning to either reduce the variances and take time to meet with council for either support or to have a community meeting, as the proximity of the building is immediately adjacent to residential. And it is a very small building.
So we're requesting postponement then, Miss Leonard?
Yes, Xavier should be requesting postponement.
All right. All right, at the request of city planning, calendar number 24-049 has been, a postponement has been requested without objection, board?
Without objection.
Without objection.
All right, great. Ms. Kukla, do we have a date for them?
Madam Chair, would you like to do 30 days or would you like to push it out more towards the end of June?
I think it might be prudent to push it out a little longer.
Okay, so let's put it on June 24th if that's all right with the board. We don't
Without
have-
objection on June 24th, board.
Without objection.
Super. Calendar number 24-049 has been postponed to June 24th of 2024 at the request of city planning.
Ma'am, they're working with the city, so they're not withdrawing, they're not being dismissed because we've had some communication with city planning that they are still working with them, so.
Okay.
There
I
was a
have
mis-
one comment.
Thank you.
I have one comment.
I'm sorry, Ariel, is that you?
Yes, I'm sorry.
With your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have my hand up.
Yeah.
I did reach out to the applicant. He stated that he is going to look for property elsewhere, so we can probably just go ahead and withdraw this. He's not going to come back. He said he did speak with the councilman. The councilman isn't for it. I was actually against it as well. It's around a lot of residential. They don't have adequate space on there for parking. They could use the street, but still, it just doesn't seem like the best spot. And the gentleman stated that he has also withdrawn from his lease with the owner.
Okay.
He was able to do so because the councilman has also spoken with the owner.
All right. Thanks for that input. Ms. Kukla.
Apologies for my audio.
Super. Ms. Kukla, I believe we need a communication from the appellant as to withdrawal.
We could, Madam Chair, or we could just dismiss it as we usually do when there's an absence.
Okay, all right. Given Ms. Washington's statement that followed Ms. Leonard's, we will we'll go ahead with a dismissal for calendar number 24-049 without objection, board.
Without objection.
No
Without
objection.
objection.
Okay, great. Calendar number 24-049, given further input from city planning, has been dismissed.
And Madam Chair, for the record, the applicant has the opportunity, this is not with prejudice, they are able to apply again in the future if for the same thing, if they would like.
All right, super. All right. Has our person in the room been able to leave now?
Yes.
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 Super. Just making a quick note here. All right, so let's loop back to the last case then. Ms. Holzer.
All right, our last case is calendar number 24-038. This is at 1055 Ivanhoe Road. It's a violation notice. 216 Real Estate LLC, owner, parenthetically care of Jason Lewis, appeals under the authority of section 76-6 of the Charter of the City of Cleveland and section 329.02D of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances from the notice of violation number V24003-721 issued on January 30th, 2024 by the Cleveland Department of Building and Housing for failure to comply with section 343.01 of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances, which states that new or used motor vehicle sales on a vacant lot or building is not permitted in a local retail business district. This was filed on February 23rd, 2024. This case was postponed from April 8th, 2024 to allow time for staff to acquire a report from the Building and Housing Inspector. With that, I will hand it over to Ms. Wilson for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. I will swear in all who are present for this case. We have one person in the room. Are you here for this matter?
No.
Okay, there's no one in the room. Is there anyone online present for this matter?
It appears not.
Yeah.
Let's remind them that if they're on the phone, they hit *6 to unmute themselves. We're looking for an appellant in calendar number 24-038. This case was postponed from April 8th. Is anyone present? Okay. Ms. Kukla, did we have any correspondence from the appellant?
No, I haven't received any. As of 9:30 this morning, we hadn't received any.
All right, super. Calendar number having no appellant present, either in person or online, and no communication from the appellant. Calendar number 24-038 will be dismissed without objection, board.
No objection.
Without objection.
No objection.
Super. Calendar number 24-038 is dismissed. I believe that brings us to old business. All right. We have number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 without objection, board.
No objection.
No objection.
Without objections, I apologize. I was noticing that my initials were wrong on calendar number 24052 and 053, but so that tripped me up a little bit.
All right, so we have a little typo then on 052 and 053.
Thank you.
Correct.
Thank you.
Unless Ms. Holzer has decided to change her name, which sounds like it's not the case. All right. What would you like to tackle first on the other items, Ms. Kukla?
Madam Chair, we should just go ahead and get through the affirmations first. They're pretty easy. We have the same issues with all 4 of these or all 4 projects. They are still working on their construction drawings and are taking longer than expected. So as you know, the drawings that we see are usually very minimal, not much information on them, site plan, elevations, and such. landscaping plan. And then once they're approved, they put together an architectural plan for the full, electrical, plumbing and things like that have to be included in those drawings. So those take longer than are expected. And also sometimes they take longer to get through the building and housing process as they may have questions that slow down the review. So actually with the first case on Wiley or Willie, the applicants have submitted their architectural drawings or they are close to it, and then they'll need building and housing review. So they are expecting some delays there too. So just as an update, these are the reasons that they're requesting the affirmations.
All right, super. That's understandable. It takes a while to compile a full set of construction drawings, and then, as you mentioned, they have to go through approval. So with those items, the affirmation items, without objection, board?
No
Without
objection.
objection. Without objection.
All right, thank you. All right, brings us to the request for rehearing then.
Okay, Madam Chair, before you is the, let me see, I gotta pull up my screen. The request for rehearing is regarding the calendar that you approved last week, regarding calendar number 24-24 at 10022 Madison Avenue. You received a letter explaining the reasons for the request for rehearing. They believe that there were some surprises that they were not ready for, and they would like more time, also to have more time to be reheard by a full complement of board members.
All right, was it explained to them that a full complement of board members is going to be a while?
We did state that during the hearing, and they mentioned it in the letter, I believe. So I think they understand that it will be possibly 2 months even. I know we're working on it. We just don't know how quickly we'll get somebody.
Right, exactly. Okay, so I think Ms. Holzer was kind enough to not be absent that day, since we had a resignation that we learned about. And so consequently, it was necessary for her to not vote. So that's one item, and then there were a couple of other items in the letter. Did everyone have an opportunity to review the letter?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Super. They have a right to request a rehearing, or they have a right to wait until there's a full complement of board members. So I'll take a motion to affirm the rehearing.
So let me just make sure I understand. We're moving to grant the rehearing on an unknown date.
At this time, yes.
Well, Madam Chair, we could give it a date. We could.
You want to give it a date?
Yeah, we could give it, 60 days or into the middle of, that would be the end of July. We do the beginning of August. You're right. We should definitely give it a date.
Yeah, all right. I think, I'm inclined to give them until August. What are other thoughts on that?
I would be fine with that. I mean, I know people have vacations and whatnot in the summer, so probably the more time the better. I'm okay with August.
So
okay.
Mid to end of August might make more sense. That's when schools are open again, and maybe people will be back to their usual schedules.
Right. I think that's the prudent thing to do, because I think now we're moving into holidays and vacations, and aside from having a seated board.
Right. I mean,
So-
and that's the major deciding factor is right now that board member needs to be identified, vetted, and actually put onto the board.
Right.
So there needs to be time.
And I think in fairness to them, allow some time for acclimation.
Right.
So So let's go mid-August, Ms. Kukla. What do we have?
Just let me make sure that that is not. Is it
Yeah, make
Labor
sure we're
Day?
okay with that.
Yeah, what is Labor Day this year? I apologize, I don't have that. Is that usually the first weekend?
I think it's in September, but I can't remember.
Ugh.
I'm
24.
looking.
Yeah, I think that is, hang
Yeah,
on.
September
It looks
2nd.
like it's September 2nd.
Yeah,
Yes, thank you.
perfect.
Yes, so August 26th then, if that's all right with the board.
All right, then I will make the motion, Madam Chair. I move that we approve the request for rehearing to August, what did you say, 2nd?
26.
26th.
Great. Okay, I think we're in agreement on that, right? All right, so we have a motion to postpone calendar number 24-024 to August 26th of 2024. Could I have a second on that, please?
And Madam Chair, this would not be a postponement, it would actually be a rehearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I misspoke. It's a rehearing.
And I'm
Okay.
assuming that it's likely not appropriate for me to vote on the rehearing request either.
That would be correct.
So then, Madam Chair, I do not support rehearing of this case based on the fact that, you know, there's been no change circumstances. They knew at the beginning that we did not have a full board due to the resignation. There will be no change if they are reheard because Ms. Hoser will still recuse herself. So I just don't see the change circumstances that would warrant the necessity of having a rehearing. So I wouldn't second the motion.
Okay, Ms. Wilson. Mary, would you like to give any comment on this?
I remember the letter stated that because Ms. Holzer.
That was not the only point, but that is
Right.
that was the trigger, really.
It was at the end that caused them not to have the board they wanted.
If it's not a unanimous vote of 3, then there's no change. It won't be ratified today because I didn't have the document ready.
Right.
So it would be next Monday. So if we don't have a unanimous 3 members voting for the rehearing, then it remains
that's true.
denied.
Right. I mean, so technically we can't move forward on it because we have one recusal and 1 opposed.
Right, it would not be approved today, yeah.
Right, it would not be approved today.
Well, it wouldn't, the request for rehearing in general would be denied. And
Correct.
we would send a letter to the applicant, letting him know that you did not find good cause to rehear the case, and that the case would be ratified the next Monday, and we would send them a letter.
Okay, great. All right, anything else? Do we have any absences next week?
Madam Chair, for the record, could we continue the vote just to hear? I know Ms. Roca made the motion, but if we could just, if I could ask.
We don't have a second.
Oh, that's correct. We do not have a second. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the decision
it.
to deny this case has, all right, it's been denied.
We can't go any further. We don't have a second.
All right, thank you. We will send a letter to the applicant stating that the request for rehearing has been denied.
I suspect I know what's going to happen, but that they'll have to do what they have to do.
And
All right.
That's all that we have for you this morning on our old business.
Super. Anything else? How do we do on the mayor's hunger thing? Did we get cards submitted?
I have 2 board members.
Okay. All right. And what was the deadline on that?
I apologize. I don't remember. I think it might be this week. the
Okay.
end of this week.
So if anyone still wishes to participate in that program, be sure you contact Liz.
Yes,
Do
I
we
think
have-
you have mine, right? I just wanted to make sure
I think you were first in,
Yes.
Priscilla.
okay.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay, do we have any absences next week? Did I get cut off?
No, we
No.
Sorry, I just touched it.
Okay. All right. Do we have any absences? Do we still have everybody on?
Everybody's
will be
here, yeah. I don't have an absence. I think we'll have some travel in the summer that I'll get to you all.
Okay, but you're here next week, right?
Yes.
Ms. Holzer, what about you?
I will be present next week.
Okay, and Ms. Wilson, are you good next week?
I'm good. I'll be here.
Super.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm looking at my calendar. I made a mistake. I'm not here next week. That I sent an email about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. I
All right.
apologize for responding before looking at my calendar.
That's okay. I have day planner dependency myself, so. All right, so
I will be out, so it'll be the rest of you.
all right, so we have Ms. Holzer, Ms. Wilson and myself. So we will have a quorum. How's the agenda look, Liz, for only having 3 people?
I'm not aware of any, let me think. I don't know
Is
if
that
there's
gonna
any,
be problematic for anything?
yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything that's controversial off the top of my head. And I think it actually might be pretty light as well. Well. knock on wood.
I
All right,
know.
well, I'll let you use your judgment as to how you feel like you need to let people know.
We'll let you know, but no, I don't see anything that I'm not aware of any controversial cases at this time.
Super. All right, thank you, everyone. Have a good week.
You too, Madam
Thank you,
Chair.
you
Thank
too.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.